If you've ever been sad that you had to pay the IRS, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Or are you like Andrew Ross Sorkin, who said it's your patriotic duty to pay the IRS? Yeah, I don't know about that. Anyway, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. We are back. It is tax day, Tuesday, April 15th. Benzinga's pre-market playbook is going to get you all set for the market here today. Got some news to go over, got an exclusive story to talk about. Of course, we're going to talk about the S&P 500. It's a T3 Tuesday. Let's get it rolling. Good morning and welcome back, folks, and happy Tuesday, tax day, happy April 15th. At least I hope you're happy. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here. Let's go ahead and kick it off. Ivan, good morning. Can we take a look at AIR? Yes, adding to the list right now. AIR is on there. It's going to be a bit, but yes, we will take a look at that. Good morning, Ivan. Welcome. Kayla, hello. Good morning. Crimp Biscuit, locked in. Good morning. Jim, welcome back. Good morning. Strong Island, good morning. What just happened in the last 10 minutes? The market was at 540 and then it dropped to 537. Pre-market action, man. Pre-market action. There are earnings coming out. There are bank earnings coming out. Perhaps that's what's going on, Strong. We'll take a look at that. Paul, good morning. Welcome back. Pete, locked in. Good morning. Brett, good morning. Welcome back. Couch Potato, good morning. Welcome back. Chuck, good morning. Travis, good morning. Let's hope we don't have another day where all my entries become resistance. Travis, I've been there, bro. It is terrible. Hopefully you have some better luck here today. We'll try and help you out with that. Sun-Kissed Yogi, good morning. Welcome back. Market Sniper, good morning. Big Bees, good morning. Welcome back. A-Shock, River, and Florida Yacht Insurance Guy, ready to roll. Good morning. Yes, so fine. Good morning. Very good morning to everybody. Happy trading. Absolutely love that. Let's get that positive energy rolling forward. Yeah, so fine. Good morning. Welcome. Hellcat, good morning and welcome. Day Trader, welcome back. Good morning. Naveal, welcome back. Sergeant Sexy's locked in. The producer's locked in. Larry, Quantum, Ezrar, welcome back. Boy, we got the whole crew here. Josh, Bernhard, Allsorts, welcome back. Brandon, checking in from the Twitter streets. You just love to see it. White chocolate mocha's here. That means that we can start. Let's go. Diamond Hotline locking in. Let's go. Judge, JJ, Bobby, Ryan, and Gatto Lingua. Good morning. Good morning, Yassine. We are off. Let's go ahead and take a look. Good morning, Wiss. Great to see you here. Wiss, it's April 15th, 2025, and Rory McIlroy is a golf Grand Slam champion. How do you feel about that? Dermog, good morning as well. Okay, here we go. We're going to start with the SPY, and then we'll take a look at the morning report, and then we'll dive into a couple of things here before the T3 Tuesday. Looking at the SPY here, basically the big takeaway here is that we've stayed under the 20. So yesterday we continued to push up a little bit. I guess the highs were made in the pre-market or that opening print such. The highs were made in the morning. We tried to sell off. We rebounded a little bit to a slightly lower high in the afternoon, and then we just kind of closed. It actually felt the way I described it on Happy Hour yesterday is it felt like a very mundane or boring plus 500 Dow day. Felt orderly, felt like most of the move happened either in the morning or in the after hour session or a combination of both. Didn't really do anything throughout the course of the day. I will say that TQQQ, SQQQ trade ended up working. That was about all we got. All we got yesterday in terms of those ETFs. Nonetheless, here, SPY's actually holding under the 20-day moving average. That absolutely is going to be a level. Of course, we're also going to watch the high of yesterday, which is 544.28. We'll see if we can snap that off. Remember, we are beneath the 10% pullback level. We're sitting right here at about 12.5% down from the all-time highs. So we're still in correction territory, but it certainly doesn't look grim. Also, Bank of America, which reported earnings this morning, the CFO says the research team doesn't believe we'll see a recession. So you're starting to get some walk back on the recession calls. Remember, we had Goldman Sachs do that last week. It looks like we've got Bank of America's CFO doing it this week. So, okay, now as far as some of the levels here on SPY, we're just basically looking at yesterday's candle. I'm not really sure which way it goes here today. We can come up with a plan either way. One other thing to note about where the SPY's at right now, we're still inside of this power candle from Wednesday, April 9th, Wednesday of last week. So until we break out of it, or when we break out of that, we should be able to make some judgments about where we might go next. Now, let's really quick run down some of the data here today. Let me refresh my morning report, and we'll start with the morning report brought to you by Benzinga Pro here. Futures are about flat here this morning, flat to a little bit down. Not a whole lot of economic numbers. We got the import-export data. We've got some Fed speakers here today. But the things that I wanted to mention to you folks, because they've been hot recently, we do have 2 IPOs that are set to debut today. Both of them were priced at the low end of the range at $4 and at the high end of the range at $6. This is very similar to what we've seen from some of the crazy China IPOs that went recently. Top W and WTF. So we've got 2 more here today. HXHX, which is Hausen, HAOXIN Holdings. And then we also have PHOE, which is Phoenix Asia Holdings. So both of these IPOing here today, low priced. Just keep an eye on. I don't know what time they're going to start trading, but given that we've seen some pretty crazy trading from some of these low-priced China or Asian IPOs recently, I would at least put it on your radar here for today. So 2 more, HXHX and PHOE, both IPOing here today. Now, as far as company events, nothing here today, but I did want to mention that there is a Jefferies Power by Coin virtual conference. This is tomorrow. This might affect some of these crypto stocks, BitDeer and FUFU. LOL, listed here, but this realistically, depending on what comes out of that conference, maybe that will affect more. That happens tomorrow, nothing here today. And then a couple of initiations that I just wanted to go over, a couple little analyst ratings things to go over here. Mobileye got an initiation here and from Baird with an outperform rating. This plays into some of the autonomous driving stuff. It moves with some of those catalysts. They're getting a outperform rating here today, actually down a little bit in the pre-market. Cummins got a neutral rating here from Baird with a 315 price target. Snap-on down here, neutral rating from Baird, 349 price target. Shout out to Snap-on. They make the best tools in the world. I still have mine from when I was 19, buying tools to work in an automotive shop. That's how good they are. Couple of downgrades here. Looks like we also got a downgrade of Mobileye. Ironwood Pharmaceuticals caught a downgrade. Tenet Healthcare, actually several healthcare companies caught downgrades here today. So that's something to take a look at, and really nothing much on the upgrades. Now, as far as earnings here, let me go back to the chart. As far as earnings here, let's get the stage set for that. Here's what you got. So this morning, Citi, Bank of America, PNC, and Johnson & Johnson all reported earnings. When I started the show here, I was still waiting on the Citibank earnings or the Citi earnings. So I'll go ahead and check on that. We did have Bank of America, Johnson & Johnson already report. So this is what's going on here this morning. In the afternoon here today, really only 2 that I would consider big, and I almost hesitate to use that word. United Airlines, ticker UAL, and JB Hunt, ticker JBHT. Both of these might have some read-throughs to how the economy is doing. So we're going to pay attention to those reports. IBKR also reporting here. I do know some folks trade that. Can't remember if there's anyone in our group that trades that, but they are reporting later today. So we got that going on here. Okay. Did the SPY, did the morning report, did the earnings. Let's dive in to some of the news here. How much time do we got? Oh, we got 20 minutes before T3. Awesome. All right. Quick market overview here. Just a quick look around the horn here. S&P futures down here by just shy of 0.2. Dow futures down here 0.25%, and NASDAQ about flat, down 0.08%. So we were about flat here this morning. We're a little bit weaker post the release of some of those earnings, but still not really weak, still flattish, I would say. U.S. stock futures were volatile Tuesday following a two-day advance. Futures of major benchmark indices were mixed in the pre-market, still appears to be the case. Trump hinted at helping car companies while talking to reporters in the Oval Office on Monday. He explained that automakers require a transition period to shift production from Canada, Mexico, and elsewhere. Quote, and they need a little bit of time because they're going to make them here, but they need a little bit of time. So I'm talking about things like that, end quote. Stocks advanced for 2 consecutive days after he exempted smartphones, computers, and semiconductors from the reciprocal tariffs. Remember, we were talking about other tariff buckets going on here. However, he hinted that he may look at levying duties on chips imported into the U.S. on Sunday. Let's see. I wanted to go down here. A couple of other things real quick. Here, this was interesting. Financials presented a mixed picture with Goldman Sachs reporting stronger than anticipated earnings. Ended up not trading all that well. And well, M&T Bank Corporation posted weaker than expected earnings, and they were down here. So real estate, utilities, consumer staples sectors recorded the most significant gains on Monday. We'll see if we have any follow through on that. And then the couple of comments here that I wanted to cover real quick before we talk about an exclusive news story here. ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood said that she sees, quote, a light at the end of the tunnel, end quote, despite the ongoing tariff turmoil. According to Wood, tariffs could be the catalyst to end a 3-year rolling recession. That's interesting. First time we've heard that. She said that Trump's decision to bring Treasury Secretary Bessent into the process indicates a move to reduce both tariff and non-tariff trade obstacles. She contends this shift wouldn't have occurred without the initial shock therapy of aggressive trade measures. Interesting. The slowdown caused by tariff introduction will give the administration and the Federal Reserve, quote, more degrees of freedom to stimulate than most investors have been expecting, end quote. This will create a clarion call for tax cuts, deregulation, and lower interest rates, ultimately paving the way for economic recovery. So Cathie Wood, I can always appreciate when someone is taking a glass half full approach. That is absolutely the way to live through life, not the opposite. That looks like that's what she's doing here. Remember, we've actually talked about that too. We're going through the bitter phase right now. The sweet phase should be next. She outlined some of that here. Tax cuts, deregulation, lower interest rates. Remember, folks, without the bitter, the sweet just isn't as sweet. And it looks like that's kind of what she's saying here. The analysts at BlackRock extended their tactical horizon back to 6 to 12 months and resumed their positive view on the U.S. while still expecting, quote, the ongoing risk asset volatility and potentially sharp reversals, end quote. Nobody should be surprised at that. We are all doing that as well. Quote, we stay underweight long-term treasuries, our highest conviction view. Tariffs are likely to add to already sticky inflation, and congressional budget plans last week reinforce the outlook for persistent budget deficits. We favor gold instead as a portfolio diversifier. So let me know there. Now, quick read through on some of the earnings here. We'll just do it all real quick. We can go back then and look at any of the charts that you folks want to do that here. Citigroup rose 1.09% in the pre-market on Tuesday as it is expected to report earnings before the bell. Okay, sorry. I thought this one actually had the earnings reports in there. I've got them on another note sheet here. Okay, let's go back to Pro. I do want to talk about a stock that we've recently taken a look at here, and that's JNVR. This is Janover. Now, if we take a look at the pre-market chart, Janover has held its gains recently here, and guess what? It is trading up here again. Well, what's going on? The Benzinga Pro team bringing you news 30 minutes ahead of everyone else here. Shout out Benzinga Pro News Desk. You guys get it done, and you're the wind beneath our wings here at Benzinga. Janover scoops $10.5 million of Solana under its new treasury strategy. So again, here, one of the things about Benzinga Pro, we talk about these news wires all the time. I think sometimes we take news for granted, but our news desk team had an exclusive story here with Janover at about 7:30 this morning. The PR to the rest of the world there came at 8 o'clock. Janover here up in the pre-market 15.3%. So let me know if you folks like this, adding different coins to the treasury strategy. Basically, I guess we should call it the strategy, or the micro strategy at that. Do you like this here? Do you like Janover? Does this entice you to trade it here today? You let me know. Exclusive news here this morning causing Janover to pop right now, brought to you here on Benzinga's pre-market playbook. So JNVR, that's what's going on here. We are in the early stages of that. Look at the move that this thing made. This thing was $5 on April 4th. $5 on April 4th. Day trader here. It's not just the low float. Janover is smart going with Solana. So perhaps Solana being the coin of choice here for the treasury move, maybe that's responsible for what we're seeing here. Day trader, it looks like you think that. Good stuff. Good stuff on this. I have no position here on Janover. Maybe we'll trade it here today. I will say, though, I'm definitely interested in companies doing this. You know, it's one thing for MicroStrategy to do it, one thing for a huge company to do it and add Bitcoin, but it's quite something else for some of these smaller companies that add other coins. Now, Solana, obviously one of the popular coins, but nonetheless, we'll see how this shakes out here. Really cool stuff here. And again, hat tip to the Benzinga Pro news team. They do great work. Okay. Now, the next thing that we need to talk about, something that we've already been talking about, and the content of this might surprise you a little bit. We'll see. I definitely want to get your folks' opinion on where we're at and what the next trade is. Here's your SPY chart. This is the SPY daily chart that we look at every day. One of the things that we've talked about recently has been this, the death cross. I mean, let's face it. The term is literally named death cross. So it sounds scary. It sounds bad. You would anticipate bad. We've seen some examples here where I think, what was it, Lunar? Did we have the death cross? Was that the Head and Shoulders? This was the Head and Shoulders that resolved lower. We've seen, I can't recall one right off the top of my head. Was it Apple? Can't recall. Yeah, Apple here. So Apple death crossed, moved lower, although that was short-lived. Anyway, we've taken a look at a bunch of different death crosses. We're paying particular attention to it because it's literally happening on the SPY. It happened yesterday. So let's talk about it. The S&P 500 closes with the first death cross since 2022. But here's what it means for markets. The S&P 500 ended Monday on a rather ominous note, forming what's known as a technical death cross, a chart pattern that is often seen as an indicator of transition from a bull market to a bear market. Ooh, that is spooky. On Monday, the S&P 500's 50-day moving average, often seen as an indicator of a near-term trend line, slipped below the 200-day moving average, which indicates a long-term trend. Technical analysis views this as a sign of reversal. Traders flagged similar chart patterns in the NASDAQ 100 index on Wednesday, as well as the small cap focused Russell 2000. I guess I should have just gone to the story. We could have easily seen those death crosses there, which they saw this pattern a month ago. So SPY a little bit lagging behind. You can see bar chart here doing a really good job showing you what that looks like. For the S&P, this is the first death cross in 3 years, the most recent one being in March 2022, followed by which the benchmarks experienced immense volatility and declined 18% by October of 2022. Perhaps that's what market participants are remembering and kind of anticipating or waiting for, right? The last time that we had this here in SPY, 18% decline by October, and 25% from its peak in January of 2022. Wow. Officially confirming its entry into bearish territory, a drop of 20% or more. You all know what happened after that. Why it matters, according to the analysts, the death cross is usually a lagging indicator. Oh, interesting that you should say that, which means that it confirms the trend has already occurred. Craig Johnson, a chief market technician at Piper Sandler, told MarketWatch that instead of signaling more losses, they often can signal a snapback rally. Where do you folks think? Topher here says lagging indicators, rolling on the floor, laughing emoji. Topher, are you buying this at all? You like this? Do you dislike this? Quantum here saying death cross means the bottom is near. Time to sell into retail traders. All right. Let me know what you folks think. I love this. I love discussions about this. I'm so happy that we're actually like having this now. 13 and I have been waiting for this for a long time. In a note, analyzing nearly 100 years of data, Paul Ciana, a technical strategist at Bank of America, wrote that in 52% of the time that this pattern occurred, the average losses stood at a mere 0.5%, according to the report. 0.5%. Okay, so using Quantum's word of warning here, I think Quantum is barking up the right tree, you might say. Death cross means the bottom is near. Time to sell into retail traders. Don't be a retail trader that gets, I guess, tricked or makes a mistake selling into that. Where was I? Sorry. Ciana adds that while death crosses have been, quote, inconclusive overall, end quote, there is one critical tell: whether the 200-day moving average at the close has fallen for the past 5 trading days. This indicates that there's more room for, quote, stocks to drift lower in the immediate future, end quote. Okay, so Paul here, again, technical strategist from Bank of America, telling you that the death cross is one thing, but perhaps what's more important or a better predictor of future prices is going to be the 200-day moving average at the close. Has that fallen for the past 5 trading days? Well, thanks for telling us that, Paul. Let's go take a look. Here is your 200-day moving average, and we're going to go back. So Monday, yesterday, this was at 574.84. The day before, whoa. Here's Friday, the day before. This was at 573.75. Oh no, that's where it currently is. Sorry. Day before. Looks like this has been flat, but technically I get 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this one's flat. So it looks like we've got 4 days where that average declined, but it was mostly flat the entire time. The 5th day here was flat. I'll be honest with you, that to me seems like kind of a non-issue, at least right now. Let me know what you think here. Are we in big trouble from this death cross, or might the worst have already happened? A Reuters analysis spanning 50 years shows that the S&P 500 has seen 24 such death crosses, and only in about 46% of the cases, the sell-off worsened after the pattern was seen, with an average decline of 19%. So this is important because it seems to be like this is a coin flip, whether we're going to see more downside. However, if we do see more downside, the average decline is 19%. Let me know what you folks think about that. I'm excited. I'm excited to have this going on. I really want to see what some of the different opinions are here. Okay, and that's just some basic price action stuff. So, okay, cool. Let's see what happens. Let's see where we go. If I forget, remind me. I don't think I'm going to forget, but if I do, remind me. I definitely want to ask 13 about this. And I'm going to leave this story up because we might talk about some more of these things. Okay. All right. Next here, Netflix and Trill. Gotta like that title here. Netflix eyes 1 trillion market cap by 2030. A trillion market cap, aims to double revenue and dominate global streaming. Now, I'm not surprised at dominating global streaming. Frankly, I think they're already doing that here today. Or I think they're already dominating streaming here today. Can they double their revenue? They can. This is going to be a good stack to own. Netflix aims to more than double its market cap to 1 trillion by 2030, showcasing ambitious growth targets that underscore its position as the world's leading streaming service. During its annual business review meeting last month, executives shared plans to double its revenue from 39 billion last year and generate approximately 9 billion in global ad sales by 2030, the Wall Street Journal reported, citing sources. The company also targets tripling its operating income from 10 billion in 2024. Wow, that would be something. Netflix, currently valued at nearly 400 billion, with shares up 50% in the past year, has strengthened its financial position through password sharing crackdowns. Who's been hit by that? Who shared their password? It's okay. This is a safe space. You can admit that here. Strategic price increases and its growing advertising business. Research firm eMarketer estimates U.S. ad revenue will exceed 2.15 billion this year. The streaming giant expects to grow its global subscriber base from 301.63 million to approximately 410 million by 2030. That is a pretty good growth target. That's pretty optimistic, with particular focus on international markets with high broadband penetration like India and Brazil. Netflix did not immediately respond to our reach out there, despite concerns about President Trump's tariffs potentially causing an economic recession. Remember, we've seen that walked back a few times already. Netflix executives expressed confidence that streaming could prove resilient if consumers opt to stay home rather than spend on outside entertainment. Now, this is the important part because we've been saying this for a long time. Netflix actually seems like, I don't want to say recession proof, but could be better in the case of a recession, as this is likely one of the services that people trade down to, right? It's much cheaper to Netflix and chill on your couch than to go out to restaurants and all of these other activities. So if the consumer is going to pull back, perhaps Netflix is one of those stocks to take a look at here. And they've got some pretty ambitious growth targets. So definitely want to hear what you folks think about Netflix. It's been a great trader. I know our happy hour crew loves this. We've got a gentleman in there that basically just trades this exclusively and does quite well with it. So let me know what you folks think about Netflix. Okay, it is a little bit before 8:30 and it's a T3 Tuesday, so you know what that means. We are going to go ahead and talk to David Prince here today. Let's bring him on. David, good morning. Happy Tuesday. I'm just going to start off with this. For folks, download David's free ebook to help you navigate market uncertainty. And I started with that because that's a perfect segue. We are seeing all kinds of market uncertainty right now. Tell us what it is that you see and what are you trying to do with all of this uncertainty?
In real simple fashion, I'm trying to swing the bat and get fairly aggressive when the opportunity arises, like last week, and do a lot less in between. I don't think this is for your average trader, more new type guy or girl who's looking to make money every day. This is not that market. This is a market to understand when fear gets insane, when the VIX is over 50, when you see stocks like NVIDIA go under 90 to get aggressive, and when we're back up here to be taking profits and do a bit less. And across the board, that's exactly what I've been doing. And then on the opposite side, like yesterday, I loved that gap open. I warned people over the weekend on my Twitter. I said, if you're buying, you don't know what you're doing. If you're excited to buy Monday. So first thing I did was actually get fairly aggressive on the short side yesterday on Apple. So I'm taking advantage of the extremes, and for me, I love it. I get it. Your average trader may get nervous, but these are the moments to take advantage of. And then when you're right smack in the middle of the range, do a lot less.
Okay, so I was going to say, just as kind of like an overall theme here, would you say that less is more in a situation like right now?
Yes, but I think people can get the wrong idea that way. So I think that they get too defensive. So less is more when the moves have already happened. When the NASDAQ is bounced 16%, you sure as hell better believe less is more. But no, don't freeze when you start to see your favorites go to levels that make sense, even if earnings are going to be 10% less than they thought they'd be just 2 weeks ago due to tariffs. So less is more in between, but at those extremes, Like last weekend, I was busy all Saturday, all Sunday, getting ready for Monday. Today, a little less to do, and I'll do less, and it might be a boring day, frankly. So yes, less is more, but understand you have to step up to the plate when these extremes occur.
Okay, now I love that part too. That was a perfect setup here, because one of the things that we've been saying here on this show is that although some of this might feel crazy and you know, feel fast moving, the reality is that not stepping away completely is the right. I don't want to use double negative. Staying present so that you can actually take advantage of some of these moves is going to be paramount. Running to the sidelines is not necessarily the best move. So that sets me up. Now that we've actually got a little bit of a bounce here, you know, you were talking about Apple here. Apple's actually set to open up right beneath its 500-day moving average, which we just recaptured yesterday. We're talking about the SPY earlier here. This is actually still under its 20-day, and it's kind of right in the middle ground between the 10% and the 15% pullback from the all-time high. Where we're sitting today with some of the moves already passed, what's next for you? What do you have on your target list next?
Sure. Meta. So Meta, we were pretty aggressive between 480 and 500, and you had that monstrous bounce. You now have the trial going on. There was some underperformance yesterday. I'm not reinventing the wheel in this market. I'm not just buying FANG or Mag 7. There's a lot of names I buy, but I do want to buy cash flowing companies that can perform even with what our president's doing, right, regarding tariffs. So to me, Meta is kind of a no-brainer if we get back towards that low 500 area. And if we revisit lows and it's at 480, I'll definitely get aggressive there. And then, frankly, it's literally waiting for spots. So let me give you an example. I grew up in the business really focused on semis from guys like Whittington and Dan Niles before he went to manage money. And to me, they're the engine of the NASDAQ, of anything that's growth. Without chips, we don't have the rest.
Absolutely.
So I've been really bearish all year. Some of the market, but definitely semis. And now we're at points where they start to get interesting. And perhaps my biggest trade last week was the SOX via SOXL. I would definitely get aggressive there if we pull back into say middle of the range. So on SOXL, that would be a bit under 9. We traded all the way down to 720 last week. So I'm going back to some of my favorites. NVIDIA, I was a buyer 93.86. I'm not buying it up here. We pull back into 100. I would definitely be a buyer. I bought Immunome, a small biotech. A lot of people know I'm a big fan of and know the CEO well.
Is that IMNM?
Yeah.
Yes, got it.
CEO was buying it in the 13s. Then he bought 7s, and it was 5 last week, 550. I bought some at 750. We backed it, and I bought some. We backed up into 6. I'd be a buyer. So a lot of the same names, and not really reinventing the wheel with ideas. I'm trying to keep it real simple. What's going to perform in an environment where there's evidently, I mean, let's face it, we're going to have a slowdown. Like if we don't, I'll be shocked. So what can work in a slowdown? And it's a lot of these bigger names. CrowdStrike just had a monstrous move. You sure as hell should know if that pulls back 30, 40 points, I'm right back into CrowdStrike. But I guess my thought is we hit 402 on Qs, and then we're back to 465. I don't think it'll take much to be at 450, 445. And my thought is between here and there, you might have to like sit there and just hold, like put your hands under your butt and do nothing. So all those names are on my list, but I'm not going to force it in between. I talked a lot about this on Twitter. I'm going to say it again. This is a market to make a week, to make a month, to make a quarter last week. And then it's a week right now to do, the market's trying to do its very best for you to destroy the good work you did last week. So all those names are on my list, but I'm doing a lot less in between. XBI, biotech's gotten so cheap. I can't tell you the charts make sense. I can't tell you the Trump administration is going to be favorable. But if you look at XBI, it's gotten insanely cheap. The underperformance over the past 5 years is insane. I bought some of my favorite biotechs, but like Immunome, but I didn't buy XBI under 70. That came back into 70 as an investment. How do you not look there? So those are names I'm all looking at, and I'm not trying to bore you. I wish I could tell you I have an idea to reinvent the wheel. I can tell you yesterday when I saw Apple at 210 from a low last week of 168 on news that a lot of people didn't quite understand, I was shorting the hell out of it pre-market 210 to 212, and I was doing puts right after the open. But now it's at 200. Is it a short? Is it a long? It's a nothing. And I see a lot of stocks like that right now.
Okay,
They're a nothing.
So it seems like you're being very deliberate about picking your spots, and that's kind of why I was asking about less is more earlier. When you see it, you're definitely not afraid to take it, but you're not trying to be haphazard about it.
No, and directly, I really think people should start to think about their Monday, making their Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because you have to really sit on your hands in between, and that's the market we're in.
Okay. Can I ask you about some individual stocks?
Yeah.
And by the way, no reason to apologize here and say, I wish I had some groundbreaking. Sometimes we're big fans here of saying we're going to play the hand the market deals you. Sometimes the market deals you a hand where what you're supposed to do is sit on your hands. So if that's the right answer, that's the right answer.
But it's about that. And he said, God, I didn't know it would be so active here. And I know you swing and you manage money, and it's been so active. And I said, that was last week. We're a product of the environment. If you don't trade your environment, you're screwed. And last week it was to be aggressive and understand that volatility was your friend if you respect it and take advantage of it. And now, if you don't like extremes, okay, now sit on your butt because there's less to do. But we don't control the environment. We just control how we react to it. And I think if traders can't figure out environment first, like first and foremost, what's your environment? The rest comes after.
Okay, I like that. And folks, I think that's stuff that we can take from right here. We are with David Prince from T3. Download David's free ebook to help you navigate this market uncertainty. Doesn't look like that uncertainty is going away anytime soon. QR code here at the top of the screen. I threw the link in the chat as well. Okay, David, you did a great job running through some of the stocks that you're looking at. I do want to ask you about a couple here that we talk about on a regular basis. And my first one here is going to be Netflix. We actually just talked about that. Netflix still doing a really good job staying above its 200-day moving average. Maybe not as in the crosshairs for the whole tariff uncertainty that's going on right now. Do you have any thoughts here on Netflix or a trade plan for this at all?
Sure. Well, first thing I should tell you, so there's a fellow who works with me in Inner Circle, is a dear friend who's been killing it all year on Netflix, long into the last print, long on all dips. And really, I laugh because you said a guy's been making a living on just trading Netflix. He's not just trading Netflix, but boy, he could. So here's what I remember from last quarter. They have a whole new growth business via sports, especially live sports.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people didn't really understand the size of the opportunity. So I get why it's working. I also get that in terms of comps, its market cap still pales in comparison to its other old friends from Fang. It's not part of Mag 7 officially. So when you look at it, I get why it can work. And then, of course, it's not really a company affected like tariffs. That said, this item from the Journal that has it gapping this morning, which for those that don't know, say basically they're going to double revenue by 2030, and they plan on having $1 trillion market cap.
By the way, 400 million going into today. 400 billion, excuse me. 400 billion market cap going into today.
And they plan, or however you would describe it, to have $1 trillion market cap is what they're quoted as saying, right? That's part of the article.
Yep.
So I'm a big believer that half of these earnings prints are about where the stock is pre the print. I always say, listen, I don't care if you're looking for a big beat or not. If the stock is up 50% into the quarter and is just raging and at, say, 75, 80 RSI, now the pressure's on, right?
That's right.
So you look at this that traded 816 last week at 950, the pressure's on. So to me, it's a nothing. I have a feeling my partner may do like some sort of call spread, like sell this week's, buy next week's. As far as I'm concerned, it gets a bit tough because it's rallied so hard into the print. But I'm expecting a pretty decent number because I see where they're between advertising, which is their new growth vehicle, and live sports. I get the bull story behind it, and I'd be a buyer of dips. In terms of buying options on a stock that just traveled like 15% off lows, I don't see a great opportunity, and I'm not up for betting against it. So
Awesome.
I think it's a no play for earnings for me.
So that you're practicing what you preach right here. You do like it long term, but you don't really have the edge going into this earnings print. So the right trade here is to sit on your hands. Absolutely love that. And as far as what you were talking about with the live sports, I do see the runway there. Looks like the chat does too. Joe here saying nobody's going to cancel their Netflix. Completely agree with you, Joe. Yeah. I think this is if
and they have pricing power. They've proven to have it.
Absolutely.
Right? Like you're going to cancel because you pay $1 or $2 more.
No. Exactly. It's one of the cheapest subscriptions out there. As long as you have internet, you're probably getting this too. Joe goes on to say here, yeah, I think the Super Bowl will be on Netflix one day. What do you think about that? What'd you say that again? Sorry.
I've heard people say the same thing. It doesn't feel like out of the question. It feels like there was a point you'd probably say that's idiotic. No, that seems like it's very viable one day.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. On the surface, I might be like, the Super Bowl on Netflix? Come on. The more I think about it, Joe, I think you're onto something. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. Right? Say it again.
Did we have a game Thanksgiving or was that Amazon?
It was Christmas. We had two games there. So it was the Chiefs.
We're moving there already. You can see it.
Yeah. And the other thing, I don't know if I was caught off guard by this, mea culpa, if you will, here. When I watched the Tyson Paul fight, they had all those buffering and streaming issues. And I was on X during that, and there were a lot of people saying, hey, this might be a pretty good short. Hell, I was looking at that for a little bit. Well, it sold off a little bit that following Monday and absolutely ripped from there. And then several months later, they had a flawless rollout on Christmas Day.
People realize that's a cute moment. That sucks for them. And certainly their PR, but on the longer term, they realize the flip side is look at the amount of people and the audience they commanded from the event. And that was certainly more important because you got to think a company this size will fix a problem like that. So and they did, and they did. Okay, real good stuff there on Netflix, David. I'm going to ask you about Tesla. Do you see anything here on Tesla, or is this something that you're trading? What do you think here on Tesla? I was pretty aggressive into that last move at 220, right? Before tariff blowups, and held it to, I don't know, high 200s, 300. I think I even played some through TSLL because I got pretty aggressive thinking this can really work. So under 8 to about 12 and was out. Two things. First thing is, if you look at it, it's tighter than most stocks right now, given these wide ranges. So we have 3 days. It's hard to call a stock that is 20-point moves tight, but tighter than most. So I am expecting to have a larger move any day. Question is higher or lower? Frankly, I get it, right? I understand every Tesla bull and robots and full self-driving and the size of that moment. But right now, when tariffs exist, it's much easier for people to look at the real important part, like their business today, right? Even batteries are affected right now when it comes to tariffs. And God knows the car business isn't doing particularly well. So if there's a stock that might revisit the recent lows, I don't think it's a stretch to say it might be Tesla. So short-term bearish, long-term, I'm never worried about valuation because you're betting on the future. So trying to figure out a PE on the future is the dumbest thing any trader can do. So I really believe it's a buy and hold at some point. But if you're asking me the next 2 weeks, I think it's lower, not higher, because it just has a lot going against it. They're not the type of company that can perform with tariffs. They are affected by tariffs. Prior to tariffs, they're getting their butt handed to them by Boyd and other companies in China. So there's just so much going against it. Yeah. Why try and be smarter than the market? I think you'll be able to buy it cheaper. Okay. Real good stuff there. Last question here. This also comes from, I guess, a story or a setup here. I just want to get your opinion on this. What do you think of death crosses? The reason I ask is because recently we had Tesla death cross here. We also had the SPY death crossing here. So give me your opinion on death crosses. What does this mean? Where do you think we go from here? Here's the first thing. I want to just be upfront about this. I have a million technical guys I rely on, even after I'm at this like 30 years, 29 to be exact, but 30. And I can read a chart with the best of them. But if you ask me the difference between a bull flag and a Ukrainian flag half the time, I wouldn't know. Now, I kind of know, obviously, but you get the idea. Some people put too much importance on them. It's a part of the picture. And to me, if you can't understand how to take risk, if You can't understand that a certain type of stock like quantum, no one cares about in this environment, but they do care about Meta, Amazon, and not even Apple. Like that was the last stock I focused on, but certainly I focused on buying an NVIDIA under 90. That's what makes you real money. Then you put the chart in. That said, my experience the last decade is, I'm not an expert there, but anytime someone mentions the death cross, 50% of the time it means nothing, and it's where you should be buying. So my experience is it means absolutely nothing. And to me, to have an edge means it's got to be better than 50% of the time. I saw a stat on Twitter yesterday from someone who was fairly astute, I think, because they were pointing it out. They said it's like a 50-50 ratio as to whether it provides any follow through to the downside. So that means it means nothing. If it's at 50-50, who the hell cares? So yeah, they mean zero to me.
Okay, David, I'm going to steel man your point here before I let you go. That was absolutely perfect. We're going to call that a David rant here on Tuesday. I thought that was great here. In a note, analyzing nearly 100 years of data, technical strategist at Bank of America, Paul Ciano, wrote that 52% of the time the pattern occurred, the average lost a mere 0.5%. So to your point there about a coin flip, indeed, 100 years of data says that is exactly the case. So, okay, David, real good stuff here today, folks. Download David's free ebook to help you navigate market uncertainty. We appreciate all of the spots that you see here today. Have a great rest of your week. We're going to check in with you next time. All right,
have a great day, guys. Thanks for
take care. That is David Prince from T3. I tell you what, the T3 guys are awesome. Clarence here, T3 Live and Benzinga is the perfect combination. Be hard pressed to disagree with you, Clarence. Good morning. Good to see you here. David, absolutely awesome here today. Really, really good stuff there. Okay, let's take a look. Where are we at? 8:45. We're going to have 13 here any minute. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to talk about Peter Schiff for a minute here. On Monday, economist Peter Schiff provided a counter narrative to the claim that China won't sell U.S. treasuries. In a short post on X, Schiff challenged claims that China, quote, won't sell U.S. treasuries, as doing so would strengthen the yuan, end quote, resulting in further damage to the attractiveness of the nation's exports. Schiff cites the 145% tariff that the U.S. already has levied on China due to a weaker yuan will not move the needle, meaning that regardless of whether renminbi strengthens or weakens against the U.S. dollar from this point, Chinese exports are essentially priced out of American markets due to tariffs. He added that China is better off with a stronger yuan to improve domestic consumption, as this will lead to a rise in consumer purchasing power and thus higher domestic demand. Schiff also made a subtle reference to the U.S. misstep on tariff escalations, with it now having reached a point where any additional levies beyond 145% are meaningless. China, on the other hand, still holds $760 billion worth of U.S. treasuries, providing it with a significant advantage. Maybe we should do a poll. And see if Schiff's finally going to get the gloom and doom prediction right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for joking around about it. It's just when people are constantly negative, it irritates me. People make a living off of that, and it sucks. I think was there anything else in here that I wanted to go over? No, that was it. We just wanted to take a quick look at that. Okay, let me go back to the charts here. It's time for 13. Let's check in with him and see how he's doing here today. I got to figure out how to work the computer machine here. There you go. 13. How you doing, my man?
Well, I'm doing good this morning. How's everybody?
We're doing good.
We're
doing good. Another day above ground and breathing here. All things point to good. Where do you want to start here today?
Well, let's get these movers out of the way.
Let's
so we
do
can
it.
Get to these tickers that everybody wants to take a look at.
Let's do it. So we will start here with some of the movers. I only have one ticker on so far. You know what? We'll add Palantir as well. Bobby, I saw that you were mentioning Palantir there. Nikhil wanted to take a look at IBKR, which of course reports earnings tonight. We can look at that ahead of the print. Ryan threw in CMMB. I don't know if you want to look at it, but you said you liked it, so I'll add it to the list here. We took a look at Netflix. I'm sure we'll take a look at Tesla, Apple, all of those. Good morning, Brandy. I think I missed that earlier. Jim, Joe, Chris, Judge, Clarence, Spot. Okay, I think we're all caught up here. Okay, let's do these movers. Then we'll come back. Any other stocks that you folks want to take a look at? Jim, you want to take a look at Boeing? No problem. We'll do that as well. All right. We're all set up to go here. First one on the movers list is going to be Synergy CHC. This is ticker SNYR. Sorry, I'm adding Intel here for Cam. No news on this one, or at least it doesn't look like it here.
Nope. I didn't see any news.
Yeah, no news on this one. Stock's up 107% here in the pre-market. Looks like, yeah, okay. So this did pop in the after hour, popped again here on humongous volume. As soon as the volume dried, we came all the way back to the 65 EMA on the 5, and we are holding there. Let me turn VWAP on. We're actually right beneath VWAP as well. Short interest on this stock. 0.28% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. Pretty negligible there. Float of 3 million. 13, I know you said you didn't see any news on this one. You got any levels or any thoughts on this otherwise?
Yeah, sure. So this is moving on what I think is going to be on relative volume. Had a large volume day relative to how it normally trades yesterday. So we're seeing more of that carry over into today. Like I said, no news, but I want to think that there was, or I want to recall if there was some kind of news or headline about some kind of wellness or something with RFK. Remember we had the Pfizer news yesterday with regards to the GLP-1 and that other company. We were talking about that.
Yep.
So I thought there was something that had to do with that on this whole wellness theme, because that's what this company's about. They're in that space as well. So I think that it's what it could be on. But like I said, there's no news. I'm going with it's just relative volume because that's what we had yesterday. We had a much larger amount of volume compared to what it normally trades at. Float in this is about 3 million shares. Has very little cash, but it's slightly profitable. The problem I have with this is that the balance sheet doesn't look great at all. Has way too much debt, and I'm not really that confident about this company's financial position. They might need to raise cash. I don't know if they will, being that they're kind of like break even almost, but they're slightly profitable. I just don't like the amount of debt they have. So. This might move because of how small the float is. It's trading beneath VWAP right now, trying to get support from the 65 EMA. And if it gets that support from the 65 EMA, then it looks like it's going to be trying to turn around. You can even match the MACD up with that to see that there's a little bit of an extension happening here with how long it's been trending down. I think it's starting to curl. That could be what we're getting here with the 65 EMA support. But until it recaptures that VWAP, I'm not really looking to try to take a trade in this.
Okay, good stuff there. Good morning, Nadeem and Rafat. Yes, absolutely, Rafat. I will add IWM to that, no problem. One more thing here on SNYR. On average, the stock trades 26,000 shares a day. It is extremely illiquid. And simply looking at the value or simply looking at the chart here will kind of show you that. Now, today, obviously, we're 30 plus million, so there's a lot of eyeballs on this. I would just caution folks, be careful, because if this thing drives up at all, if the volume drives up at all, you might be in trouble on that one. So just factor it in, know what it does normally, know that we're in an outlier day here. Be careful with this one. Probably not great to hold this overnight. Yeah.
And that's going to be the levels for now, is that 65 EMA on the 5 minute and VWAP, because those are going to be two levels that we need to see some, what's going to happen with them. If we lose the 65 EMA, I have levels for where we're going to be heading next. If we get back over the VWAP, I have levels where we're going to next. But first things first, let's just get to that, and we'll probably have to wait until they open it before that happens. But I do have levels to watch for once we get a direction out of this thing.
Okay. Nadeem's asking, do y'all swing penny stocks? Is that the reason to look at the balance sheet? So that's actually a pretty good question here. I will say that a majority of the time, I do not swing penny stocks. First of all, my definition here of a penny stock is the literal one. Is it under $1? If it is, it's a penny stock. If it's not, it is a low price stock, but it's not a penny stock. I know that differs from the traditional Wall Street definition, but just know how I'm using it here and in what context I'm using it. Now, to your other question there, some of the chat members here do swing them. I traditionally do not unless it's a longer term investment. Now, the second point of your question here, is that the reason to look at balance sheets? I got to say that the most of the reason that we look at some of the financial reports here are to determine whether or not this stock has a high probability of doing an offering to raise cash. Because the thing is that if you're going to hold this overnight and the company could really stand to raise cash, and the stock went up by 100% here today, well, all signs are pointing to a more probable offering and a possible capital raise there that you do not want to be a part of, at least in most cases, as a shareholder. So I don't think it's ever a bad move to necessarily know the financial position. 13, my hat goes off to you because you do a really good job of staying consistent and checking out the financial positions of these stocks that we talk about. But to answer your question directly, Nadine, no, we're mostly trying to determine if an offering is likely.
It's that, and it all boils down to know what you're trading. And I think the next stock that we take a look at is probably going to make this whole reason why we look at balance sheet even clearer.
Is the next stock Murrah?
Yes, it is. Okay,
then let me start here. We're going to. I love how your segues are so crispy right now. It is great. It's like a high quality fried chicken. Merle Oncology shares are trading higher after the company announced plans to explore strategic alternatives and discontinue clinical development of one of its drugs that has a bunch of letters in there that I'm not going to try and pronounce. Quick look at the short interest here. 3.45% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. That 1 day to cover comes on 269,000 shares of volume on average. So right around 250,000 shares on average throughout the course of the day. Today, though, we've traded 36.5 million shares. Stock is a float of 17 plus million shares. What do you got on this, 13?
Well, I'll take a stab at that drug, Nemvalukin, I think is what it's called. That is their flagship drug they've been working on. They were looking, I believe, to get into phase 3 with this before they announced that they are discontinuing all of that with this drug. All they have left now is preclinical programs. So that basically leaves, that frees up a lot of money. Now, here's where the balance sheet is going to come into play. If we look at that, actually, I need to bring it up so I can go on here with you. Their balance sheet shows that they have 115 million in cash with almost 29 million in short-term investments. So that usually means that they can convert that into cash pretty easily. So what this means is that a lot of that R&D that was being used for their drug, the Nemvalukin, that's basically freed up. And if you look at their income statement, you can see that the money they were spending on research and development was to the tune of over $28 million.
Yep.
So now all of a sudden, we're not really, this company's not going to be spending that much at all on its research. They're looking for new opportunities, or they're reevaluating. The only thing you have left is really going to be, accounts payable, general admin expenses, things of that nature. So when you're an investor or you're a trader and you see that, well, this company has a bunch of cash they're not going to be using, well, that just makes it really attractive, because now they're basically just a holding company, because they're not doing anything with their clinical trial programs anymore, or at least right now. So that's why this is moving, because it's essentially just a stock with a ton of cash that's not getting spent. That's why we look at these balance sheets and these income statements, because it gives us an idea of what kind of money they're spending, how much of it they have left, and whether or not there's any risk of share dilution as a result of them needing to raise more capital, as we were saying before. But then there's situations like this that show us, well, now they're not spending that capital. They have a ton of it, and they haven't decided what they're doing with it yet. Well, the value of this company just went up because they're sitting on a ton of cash.
Okay. Really, really good breakdown there. Looking at, I'm almost curious. Well, not almost. I'm curious to see if you have any levels here on the chart. If I take a look here, I'm looking at a 5-minute chart, and I backed out a little bit, going all the way back to March 25th, the pre-market of March 25th. This stock really got pounded. It was $4 the day before, traded all the way down to $1.50. We basically today, on this good news and on this volume that you're talking about, we basically bounced back right to where we went to on that impulse move. Now, we did take another leg down and then we drifted south after that, but this is pretty much right back to that level that we did on that impulse move. This was March 25th. Let me go back there. You might have covered this in some of the news that you were talking about here. This was so interesting. So this was what happened there is this was Merle Oncology says that I'll try this one. Artistry 7. Okay, much easier. By the way, producer giving you the shouts right here.
Oh, thank you.
Nemvalucan. I'm gonna keep going with it now. Anyway, Merle Oncology says Artistry 7 phase 3 trial of Nemvalucan Alpha in combination with Merck's Keytruda versus investigators' choice chemotherapy for platinum-resistant ovarian cancer will not continue to final analysis, and the company will cease the development of Nemvalucan for ovarian cancer. So it actually looks like we kind of heard about this back on March 24th. It looks like that bad news got really sunk the stock here, right? The stock was sitting right around $4. Since then, we've kind of drifted lower. Now they're making it official that they're looking for some strategic alternatives. And as you just outlined, the money spent on this drug can be redirected elsewhere, making this a company with more cash. So I guess now that we have the complete picture here, I'm unsurprised to see this come back to this 215 area. The next question I have is there some type of catalyst that can drive this higher, or might we already have reached the top today?
I don't know that we've reached the top. I think that once the market opens, we'll probably see a lot more volatility. I think that, I mean, and I don't want to say that this is just going to skyrocket because it might not. It might. I don't know how this is going to be reacted to, but I think that a company that's holding a ton of cash and not spending it is going to probably end up doing pretty well. And their cash position is relative to the amount of what their share price is. That would mean that the share price is going to go up if we're going to try to match that what they're holding. So if that's the case, then when you look at a daily chart, you can see from the PR that you had there that sunk the stock, created a gap that day, a massive gap, and that gap doesn't fill until about 285. So that's where I would be looking at the from here. That's where I would be looking at the price to go, and that's interestingly almost about where the 65 EMA is on the daily. So right in that 280, 285 area, I think that's where I would be placing a resistance level or a target for this to go today.
Okay. Really, really good breakdown there. Ticker MURA. Next here on the list is going to be SBEV. Now, this is one I know I've traded this before. SBEV here did pop in the after hours yesterday. It looks like it popped again here today, but we do have these three kings? Three towers. I don't know what this is called, but these three kind of bigger wicks here. This is definitely showing there's some significant resistance right at or slightly above 3 there. We'll see if the stock can get through it on this. I didn't see any news attributing this move or nothing to attribute this move to news-wise here. So looks like it's just kind of popping.
No, I think, and thank you, producer, for this. I believe this was one of the ones that was delisting. They've had a Form 8K that they filed on Friday.
On April 11th, though. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't know why it popped this morning. Maybe it was low RSI. I was actually in the middle of covering this one when I looked at the time, and I was like, oh crap, it's time for me to jump on. So I didn't have time to finish, but it looks like if I look at a daily chart here, yesterday had a large amount of volume. So I would think that this is probably more of a relative volume play.
Yeah, it all happened in the after hours, though, that volume that you're talking about.
Okay, it just shows up on the daily chart. That's why I'm thinking it may be that. But when I look at the chart here today with the price action we got yesterday going into this morning, and you want to name for what this is, I think this is a head and shoulders pattern with very, very prominent peaks. You just have you have the two that are on the left and the right that are pretty much about the same height, with the head being the taller one. That's typically how they look. So I would think that this looks pretty bearish to me, and we're losing some levels pretty seriously in the pre-market here. We're already beneath VWAP, already lost 65 EMA, losing the 200 EMA in the process. The next support area is going to be right where we went down to earlier this morning, down to about 295. Beneath that, you're looking at maybe 175 to down to 150.
Okay. Real good stuff there on SBEV. Really quickly, I don't think I got this in there. Short interest here, 0.79% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover and a float here of 1.2 million. So right in that butter zone. That is SBEV. As your ticker. Okay, next one here is going to be TMC. This is the metals company. This one was actually fairly decent yesterday. This had a pretty good move. It was up in the pre-market. You had a little bit of a dip and rip, and then this thing just kind of melted higher. Actually had some action here in the after hours yesterday. Held it today. And now look, already we've gone higher here today. Now, there was a PR here this morning. Rutger Bosland, pioneering engineer and technical lead on development of TMC's nodule collection system. Well, that might as well be in Greek. I don't even know what they're talking about there. Joins company to drive commercial readiness. So, okay, getting a little bit of a PR here today. This was a good day yesterday, followed by some follow through here today. Stock's up 27% here. Short interest on this, 5.95% of the float shorted with 3.49 days to cover. That 3.49 days to cover is on an average volume of 3.7 million shares. But today, we've got 3.9 million shares traded. The one thing to keep in mind here, TMC's float 184 million. So 13, I ask you, anything here on TMC? Looks like we did just take out the pre-market high. So that level's already been tight. At this point now, at least for a day trade here, I'd love for this to pull back in a little bit instead of trying to chase this run up that we're seeing.
So this Rutger Bosland, with a really extravagant title, joining the company to drive commercial readiness. And this is, they're talking about the collection system that essentially is, I guess we'll use the term plucking, deep sea polymetallic nodules from the seafloor. Don't know how exactly the process works. I'm not going to get into a technical description of it since I don't. But apparently this is the guy that's been developing the system, and now he's joining the company. So great. I don't know how this makes it more profitable all of a sudden, but it's I guess it's a just the next key step in moving forward with the company's mission. I don't know what else to add to this. This is this could even be relative volume for all we could look at.
Absolutely.
Even if they had no news, we could just say it's all on relative volume.
Absolutely. And maybe we do see some carry through here today. But again, the way that I would kind of look at this for a short-term trade or scalp would be to kind of wait out a pullback here, see if we can get something maybe around that VWAP or even that 315 area, right around that 65 EMA. See if it can firm up there and give us some entry. Otherwise, I wouldn't necessarily chase this one here.
Then I would want this to hold up 320 or to 325. That would be the area of support I would want to see. The reason being, back in March of 22 and July of 23, we were getting that's where the resistance was. We're trading above that now, so I'm looking at it as support. And if you look to the left and you look for those peaks, you can see that July of 2023 and March of 2022, those were the highs for that period of time. And then we didn't see those highs. We didn't see those price levels for, haven't seen them since then until today or yesterday. And even if you look even further back, you can see that this area that we're in right now was an area of consolidation, and that $4 appears to be the resistance area. So I would say somewhere between 320, 325, that's going to be the support you're going to want. We're going to be looking for a break over 4 if we want this to go higher.
Okay. Really good stuff there on that breakdown. Gives us a very clear picture of what to trade here. Next on the list is going to be USAR. That's your ticker, USAR, or USA Rare Earth. Okay. This stock here, actually, again, this also had a pretty good day. We talked about this and traded this one a little bit yesterday. I didn't actually take this one, but I think several folks from the group here did. We're actually higher here in the pre-market. It looks like we tried to take out that pre-market high. 1450 seems to be the spot here on USAR. No new news on this. We talked a little bit yesterday. Shares of metal and mining companies are trading higher following reports the Trump administration plans to stockpile deep sea metals to counter China. So again, that was from yesterday. Looks like there's a little bit of continuation today. We'll see how much that carry through is. 0.24% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover here. Stock has 39.615 million shares in the float. On average, the stock trades 1.3 million shares in the pre-market here already. We've traded about 750,000 shares. So we should have no trouble reaching that average volume. You have any thought here or plan of attack on USAR?
From where it's at right now at 1430, I'd be looking at 1375, maybe as low as 1350 is the area of support.
Bingo.
Of resistance, I'm going to be looking at 1525.
Okay.
So there we go. Those are the upside levels. There's the downside levels. Whichever way it goes, just I'd be prepared for those two areas.
Okay. Okay. Really good stuff. This seems fairly easy here. USAR, and we know what else to look for there in terms of catalysts should we see it. Okay, this one, Game House Holdings. I was trying to get to Verve here, but this one popped in front. Let me come back to this one here. Let me go to Verve because this one I know we've at least talked about here before. Verve Therapeutics, ticker VERV. Verve Therapeutics shares are trading higher after Canaccord Genuity raised its price target on the stock from 32 to 39, maintained a buy rating. That they went from 32 to 39. The stock is currently 476. So keep that in mind here with Verve. This pop earlier did take us above the pre-market high from yesterday. Short interest on this stock elevated here, 22.16% of the float shorted, 15.72 days to cover. That comes on 2.1 million shares of volume. On average, we've already traded 1 million here today. Float 75 million. 13, you think we're in a short squeeze here? We've got these gigantic price targets way ahead of where we're at. Increased short interest. We're coming up off the $3 bottom here. Looks like 5 is the next stop. What do you got here on Verve, ticker VERV?
It's nice that we're currently trading above the 20-day SMA. Let's see if we open and close above that. I'm not going to lean too heavily on what appears to be an impending death cross because we just had that golden cross back in January, and you know how I am with when they oscillate like this, that I just don't think that they're that strong. Now, as far as Verve goes, ever since this gap down back in April of last year, it's been kind of trading sideways between looks like 930 and 430 before we had a dropout here this month from the tariffs. Now we're trying to get back into this sideways channel. So as far as levels go, I'd be looking at all the price action ever since April of last year, all the peaks, all the highs and lows. Those are going to be all your support and resistance areas that we're going to try and recapture on the way back up here. So the earliest one looks like, let's see, we're at 472 right now. Seems to me like 490 could be one of the earliest ones, followed by 525. So just keep using some of these highs and lows from this whole consolidation area here for the past year. And I think those are going to be pretty standout support resistance areas for you to trade off of. Okay.
Good stuff there on Verve. Bigga B's asking if we've covered MP, ticker MP. Now, this is one that we talked about yesterday. Did not really cover it here today yet. This does look like this is kind of, you were saying here, mining seems to be going nuts this morning with this and USAR here. So MP, again, maybe you want to relate this a little bit to TMC or USAR. MP trading higher here. Does look like 30 is a pretty important spot. Let me see if there was anything else here in the news that's worth going over from yesterday. No, this is news about the catalyst yesterday. They tied this to TMC and the deep sea critical minerals to counter China that Trump is hoarding here. So this definitely fits into the same theme there. Real quick, look around the horn here. 15.15% of the float shorted with 6.59 days to cover. Float here, again, really elevated at 142 million. So there you go. On MP, this does fit kind of the theme. We see two other stocks here. Did you have anything on this 113 that you wanted to go over?
Yeah, I mean, China cutting off critical minerals is going to drive all these material stocks wild. It's doing it with TMC, doing it with MP, doing it with some of the other mining companies. We were talking about this one yesterday about how $30 was going to be one of the earlier resistance areas. I don't think we quite hit that yesterday. Got pretty close, but we didn't get up there. Still going to be that resistance area. But here's another thing. We had a death cross in this back in June of 22, and that death cross really did play out pretty well. We did not get another get another crossing of the 50 and the 200-day SMA until October of last year, and that was a golden cross. Now we're really starting to take off. So I think these actual crosses I would lean heavily on, because when you have a lot of time between the two of them, and you actually get the resolution, but that they intend to imply, then you know that you've got one that's that you can trade off that technical move. So I think when it comes to the death cross of June 22, we really got a nice resolution of that. Here we are with another crossing, and since we crossed back in October of 2024 with a golden cross, we have been coming up. Now we have the theme of the critical minerals that's adding more fuel to this, so this could continue to move up higher. I think we may even see the higher side of 30 pretty soon. Don't know about today, but soon.
Okay. Real good stuff there. I don't know if you were around from earlier. Death cross is one of the key words that we're kind of going on today. We did have a story earlier that outlined how the S&P 500 has done a death cross. I'm just going to go ahead and reiterate this just because we talk about it all the time. In a note, analyzing nearly 100 years of data, Paul Ciana, the technical strategist of Bank of America, wrote that in 52% of the time the pattern occurred, the average losses stood at a mere 0.5%, according to the report. So basically looking like a coin flip here. The reason that I was laughing so much is because 13 is absolutely right. When you take a look at this last one here, it looks like it played out. So coin flip or not, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Remember, there was another stat in that article there that when it does work, here it is. Let me go back to it real quick. A Reuters analysis spanning 50 years shows that the S&P 500 has seen 24 such death crosses, and only in about 46% of the cases, the sell-off worsened after the pattern was seen. So in some cases, this is viewed as a lagging indicator. But when it is, the average decline, 19%. So I just find it funny. Some back and forth here. Death cross is being thrown around. We asked David Prince about that earlier here. It's just funny that one of the movers happens to have this as one of the discussion points. So.
I felt like that data there from that Bank of America analyst was a little bit of a goalpost moving. After it's noticed, oh, okay, gotcha. So that's a goalpost move in my opinion.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I'd be curious as to know what they thought about the last death cross that we had, which was in March of 22. How'd that turn out?
Maybe we should reach out to Paul. Maybe we should reach out to Paul and see if we can get a comment there. I love it. I love being feisty and stirring stuff up here. You know who else loves to stir stuff up? Jay Rice.
Yes, he does.
Is 13 dating Taylor Swift because he got the Kelsey haircut. See what happened there? Kelsey's haircut got me screwed up. 13's happily married, by the way.
Yeah, I am. And is this his haircut? I thought he had
I have no idea. I just saw Jay. Jay likes to wake up and throw daggers early, so I figured I would get that one out there. Made me chuckle here. Interestingly enough,
don't tell me right.
You got a nice compliment on your haircut yesterday. So we're gonna do the positive, and we're gonna do Jay's. What's up? What
thinking about it, had a great idea. Maybe that would be his last film. Actually, isn't he about to be done? I thought he was going to be wrapping up his film career with one more. But
Tarantino's next flick, Death Cross. You got to get that. I mean, look, I'd see it. I would see it.
A stock market thriller. Let's go. That'd be great. I'm here for it with Tarantino at the helm. Let's go.
That would be something. Okay, let me check the movers list. Was that everything? No, it was this GMHS. This is this Game House Holdings. This is on here. It popped 19%. I don't have any news on this. I do have a short interest read. It's negligible, and I do have a float read here, 18.8 million. 13. I don't know if I've ever even seen this ticker before. I don't know if you've got anything on this. It was on the movers list, but I think this is kind of a much ado about nothing here.
Well, look at the daily chart. I mean, this looks like, you ever dropped a ball off a really high plane and it kind of just bounces before it stops? This looks like somebody dropped the price and it did the same thing.
Yeah, this is So funny story about that. I learned this from my brother, who's a scientist. It didn't work for me, but I'll really quickly tell you the story here. I got stopped one time rolling a stop sign back when I was younger. I think I was like 18, 19 years old. This is a while ago, 20 plus years ago in my hometown. Got stopped rolling a stop sign. Cop was totally cool about it. But I thought I was going to be a smartass here. He's like, you didn't stop. And I said, actually, officer, I did stop. It's very much like when you throw a ball into the air, it goes up and it slows down. And then there's a brief point at the top there where it stopped. That's what happened to me. And then it starts going back down. He had a face on him like he was not amused. and guess what? I got a ticket. So it is what it is. I'll always remember this. And so you started by saying, if you've ever thrown a ball off of an airplane, I've never done that. Thrown it off some buildings a few times, but never off of an airplane. This is the shape that the bounce makes here. To me, this sure looks like it's going lower, 13.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that it's getting some support. That's why every time that you have the low here, you see this wick on the bottom, that there's some buyer stepping in to try to pull this back up. But ultimately, it just keeps resolving lower and lower. I don't know what's going on with this one. I didn't take a look at this one, and being that it's up 19%, it was up 19% yesterday. I don't know how much more juice is left in this. It might find resistance around the 20-day SMA or the 50-day SMA that it just started appearing not that long ago. But if it does manage to get above those, I'd be looking at 180 to 185 as the next resistance area. This, if you want to trade this.
Okay. Good stuff there. James saying only cool guys get those tickets. James, I can appreciate you making me feel a little bit better there. Also, Rooster mentioning here, IINN, a penny stock here with some news. Inspiria Technologies received a payment from Glomed Networks for the delivery of one of its systems. Revenue in range of hundreds of thousands of dollars on that delivery. Stocks popping here 18%. Let's check it out after the open. I do want to get to some of the bigger stocks here that folks wanted to take a look at. We're going to start here with Ivan's. Ivan's been waiting patiently. He wanted to take a look at AIR. This is AAR Corp. You can see recently this has really kind of been trading sideways here, really broke down out of this range. I'll be honest with you, Ivan, this is not a stock that I follow very often. Providing products and services for aviation, government, and defense market. Interesting. It operates in three segments, namely parts, supply, repair and engineering, and integrated solutions. The parts supply segment majority consists of sales and leasing of USM and aftermarket distribution of new OEM supplied replacement parts. Okay, so this looks like parts for aircraft, right? Float of 25 million. Stock trades about 250,000 shares on average per day. 3.5% of the float shorted with 2 days to cover. I think that's fairly negligible here. I don't really have a read on this. I'm wondering why this kind of broke down recently. What day was that? That was Friday, March 28th. Was that like an earnings print or something? March 28th? Yeah. Looks like this just kind of fell on earnings here.
27th was I think that was after the market closed. They opened the next day lower.
Yep. Bingo. Looks like it traded down to a support level. So again, not knowing much about the company here, would probably have to look into that.
I bet it was the sales miss. That was the biggest one they've had since Q4 of 23.
Yeah, and it bounced back to this was a previous top end of the range back in the spring of 2023. This is also a former a former support level that now should be resistance. Sure looks like 54.5 is the next spot to get above here. Say, as far as a target wise, I'd look for 60. If we can do that, 60 should be the next area of resistance. So as far as I see for upside levels here, I've got 54.5 and 60.
They recently just had a joint venture with Kira Aviation Services and was awarded an E-6B Mercury pilot training contract by the U.S. Navy. So, and if you look at their income statement, this company's obviously got some pretty hefty revenue, even though if they're still not profitable. This is a real company. It's just, I don't exactly know the reason for it losing money. It doesn't lose that much, but it's not profitable. I'd have to do some more work on this. I really don't have a great read on this, but I'm going to say this. It's very interesting, and I think it's the right theme for all this tariff war and conflict rhetoric, and with the building up of militaries. This is an interesting one. I think this is definitely worth our time to take a deeper look at. I just don't know enough about it to tell you where I think it's going today, but this is definitely something I'm going to take a look at for sure.
Okay. Real quick here. This has 3 analyst ratings this year, 1 new coverage. The other 2 were maintains. Price targets 80, 78, and 83. The firms covering this are KeyBank and Truist. So it does have some pretty good coverage. It's got plenty from the year before. Those folks still have their ratings on here, that the RBC, Benchmark, Stifel, William Blair. So no stranger here to some of those firms. Some pretty good ratings and significantly beneath them. So maybe if this firms up, this actually might make a fairly decent swing long. I don't have any position on this. I don't follow this company, but I appreciate you bringing this up. I always like taking a look at new stocks. Get in there.
Yeah, there's not enough attention being paid to this right now, and the only if it popped up on your scanner, the amount that was traded was 320 shares. So this doesn't trade very much at all. I'm not trying to discount it. I'm just saying that you're not going to get really probably any movement out of this thing. But it's a very interesting stock, and it might make some pretty good moves over a certain period of time. That's why I'm going to take a closer look at it later, but I don't know that it's going to trade very well this morning.
Okay. Dustin here is asking, have you ever reviewed TEM? Yes.
Yeah.
Not only have we reviewed it, but we actually traded it with the Pelosi buy. We were constantly monitoring its short interest. Yes, that was actually a pretty good trade for the group here. I do have some more on the list that I want to get through. I can actually add TEM to it. We're going to start here with Palantir, and then we're going to go to IWM next. Here's Palantir. Now, we did have some news yesterday. The interesting piece about this is that this brought us back above the 50. We were actually as low as $66. We never got down to my $60 buy point that I was hoping we'd get to. We've since bounced. We've retaken the 50, but we were unable to get above one of its previous highs. And that high here, that exact high here is 98.17. That is going to be your first level of interest here on Palantir. Let me get to that number again, 98.17. We'll see if it can get above that. Now, recently with Palantir, Palantir announced the date of its earnings webcast. That's going to be May 5th, following the close of the U.S. markets. So there's your earnings date. Now, the other thing here with Palantir, where was that? Palantir's NATO deal places in prime position for AI and defense. That was an article from Wedbush yesterday. Palantir's actually been pretty good recently. I guess the question that you have, and I'm just speculating here, the question is the sell-off over? Are we moving higher? Really, what I'd look for that is just, can we take out that 98.17 area? And then obviously I want to see if it holds 92.84, which is your 50-day moving average. We'd like to see 3 closes above that. We've gotten 1. We'll see if we get some more. Do you have anything here on Palantir?
Just 2 things. One thing that you just mentioned, that 50-day SMA, going to have to hold up with that. We lose that, likely coming back in. 100 level price. That's going to be the next upside resistance I see.
Okay.
If you and I'm not going to try to discount the high that you were talking about, where we're seeing resistance. That one from about 98.17. That was the high from March 25th. I'm just looking a little bit further to the left here, back in February, when the price was coming, was gapping up and then coming back in. That $100 level was support upon that gap up, and when it was coming back in, it was also support. So now that we're trading underneath it and trying to recapture that, I'm looking at it as resistance, and it's also a psych level. So $100 is going to be that big R that we need to take down to go higher. Okay,
good stuff.
Yeah, I got a haircut.
And he's gotten compliments on it as well. IWM, this is the next one here. IWM, it's good that you're asking about this too. I know small caps really have taken a beating here. Mm-hmm. It's also worth noting small caps did correct 30% from the highs already. So this has actually kind of led the way down. I know some of the thought there is maybe this is going to be the leader on the way back up. We're actually currently down just about 24% from the all-time highs here. Looking at the IWM, really what I'd like to see it, basically since February, since Valentine's Day, this stock has had real trouble getting above its 20-day moving average. We're clearly in a downtrend. We've been in this downtrend since November of last year. Maybe the bottom's in. This is really what I'd be looking for here, right? Is the bottom in here at 172? This level goes all the way back to 2020. If this holds, If we start getting interest rate cuts here, I could see IWM maybe trading back up higher here. The first level that I'd really like to see this get above is going to be the 20-day. We're still significantly beneath the 500. So let's see this turn around. Our RSI is no longer oversold here at 40.79. The Williams percent hour giving us a very similar reading. So not totally oversold. 13, you got anything here on IWM?
Yeah, there's a couple of levels that I'm keeping an eye on. It's weird because it looks like the candle's wicks may have changed for some reason, but I'm just going to go with what I've got here. The $170.56 level, that's the pre-pandemic high. That's the high of January 2020 before we started dropping off. So that's one level I've got marked off there. We've actually been trading beneath it. We are, I'm sorry, we aren't trading beneath it. We were trading down to it, almost went beneath it. It was getting some support around 172, so didn't quite get down there, but still using that level as a support area. We also have the 2022 low, which I had marked off as 162.50, but it looks like in October there was a slightly lower print of 161.67. So those lows from 22, I'm also going to be leaning on that as also support. But we're not heading that direction at the moment. We're heading up. So to the upside, the resistance levels that I have are going to be 188, which we already hit once, and 192, which we also hit back on April 9th. Mm-hmm. So those two levels are going to be the next resistance areas to the upside. And then after that, you have the 20-day SMA.
Okay, great stuff there. Breaking news right now. Canada announces performance-based remission framework for automakers designed to incentivize continued production and investment in Canada. Also, we're open, but also trying to find it here. It just scrolled by too quickly. Canada to provide temporary 6-month relief from counter tariffs for goods imported from the U.S. that are used in manufacturing, processing, and food and beverage packaging. So it looks like some headway is being made there. Okay, we are open. Let me flip over to the main workspace. I know we did have a couple of other stocks to take a look at. I will fit them in here as we have some time. I do want to get one of the movers here on the screen. Looks like Murrah here popped out of the gate.
Mm-hmm. Murrah up to 240. SYNR, that's still hanging out between the 65 EMA and VWAP, so still haven't gotten a direction from that one yet.
Verve popping out of the open. Looks like it popped and it's coming back in a little bit. I'm going to wait for this to settle.
And then SBEV, that opened lower out of the gate, printed 189 and is trying to move back up towards its 200 EMA. This one also beneath its VWAP.
Good old SBEV. All right, Bank of America here. This is another one that reported earnings. This is trading higher here out of the gate.
We're getting some more movement with Murrah. Remember, this is the one, I think I would like Murrah more than on any of the other ones that we covered, and that's just because it's going to be a large cash holding company for the moment.
Really quickly here, Bank of America. Pete, you had mentioned earlier, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you said that the earnings report here was great on Bank of America. Can you give us any other highlights from that? Remember, I had mentioned that the CFO on that earnings call says that the research team doesn't believe we will see a recession. So how does this shake out for you here? Bank of America pumping plus 5%. I feel like this is a really big move for Bank of America. It does not normally move that much here. Up to almost $39. And boy, I know I've told some horror stories about working for Bank of America. Back in the day when I did work at Bank of America, stock was $12. What a buy that would have been, especially if I could have used an employee discount. Wish I was smart enough to take it back then, but no bueno. All right, 13, what do you want me to put up here? I got to step away for a real quick second, but I'll be right back. What chart do you want me to put on screen?
That's good. Well, folks, what should we look at? I mean, I was going to say Murrah, but Verve is also kind of going here too. That ripping out of the gate as well. You go ahead and choose either one of those. But
all right, I'm going to leave Murrah up. Looks like this is trading higher here. We'll see if it halts. I'll be right back. I'll promise I'll make it quick.
Okay. So yeah, Murrah still getting some newer highs printed. We're running into a couple of areas of where sellers are kind of hanging out at. The next one's going to be at 275. He just got deleted. We're going to have some more sellers up closer to 290. This thing could continue to fill the gap all the way up to that 285 area where I think this is the gap one. Let me just double check, make sure I'm getting this stock right. I'm pretty sure this is the one. where we had that gap down. And let's go to a smaller chart. Yeah, it is. So this one we're looking to fill all the way up to 285, I think is what I was saying earlier. Almost there, not too far away. We got as high as 275, so 10 cents away. There's going to be a point where this run is going to see a little bit of cooling, so you might see about 15, 20 minutes of it coming back in. But I think once it does that and shakes out some of the weaker hands, it may make another attempt to try and go over 285. What else are we looking at here, folks? Rocket Lab is moving, and MP looks great. Murrah, I will wait for a pullback. That's kind of what I was implying, that this is going to have a run, and then we're going to get a little bit of a pullback. It'll set up for its next move. But we were talking about this morning 285 being the resistance area with this one based on previous price action.
Okay, MP's pulling back a little bit. USAR looked like that did pull back a little bit, but got right back up to the top there. Verve continuing to push. Did any of these get halted yet? No, it looks like these are still going. Okay, great.
James, we did see. Is it SY Synergy? Because that's SNYR. I think we're talking about the same one. Yes, we did. We covered that one. That one has chosen a direction. It's down. It lost the 65 EMA. That's one of the things we were looking for with this one. It was either going to break down the 65 EMA or it was going to break out of the VWAP. You can see in the pre-market here, just before we opened, it was taking multiple attempts trying to get above that VWAP. It failed, lost 65 EMA. We are now looking at the 200 EMA on the 5-minute as the next area of support.
Fairchild, Lion, Beach Bum, Kathy, Will, thinking about it. Hello, Lynn Adams, Smoke Tuna, Izzy, Webcoin, good morning and welcome. I think I missed a hello for all of you folks this morning. It's great to see you here today.
SBEV just had a move from 189.
Rocket Lab taking out the after-hour high from yesterday, or trying to.
This one's trying to recapture its VWAP. That is SBEV.
Mm-hmm.
And you were saying Rocket Lab. Let's see here. Oh yeah, that one's having a great morning. Let me see if there was any news. And if there wasn't, I'll look and see what the whole sector's doing. Yeah, it was on ramp for 2 separate multi-billion-dollar defense contracts. Okay, that's good news. And remember, this is a company that has its own launch facility in, I believe it's Virginia. That's exclusive to the United States defense sector.
Okay, good stuff. By the way, Citigroup here, they reported their earnings. They're actually higher here by 2%. Looks like a beat on the top and bottom line here for Citi.
Fantastic.
Markets revenue up 12%, investment banking fees up 14%, wealth revenue up 24%, and personal banking revenue up 2%. That actually looks like a pretty decent report here. Ticker C, Citigroup. This is on the back of the Bank of America earnings report, which was great. You know what, Pete, I asked you a question, then I stepped away. I wonder if you answered. Maybe not, but maybe we'll get that here again. Sorry, get in there, 13.
Is he saying that 160 puts on Amazon stay away from me? So you had a great trade on Amazon, but now the signal is telling you that this is wait for it to come in some more before we go long again. Is that what you're saying? Let me know. So Murrah, it's kind of with a
Amazon 178 actually looks like a spot if it can get down there.
Yeah, James, they've been having different investment rounds to go public for a while now, for years, as a matter of fact. I don't know exactly when they will. I wish I had more on that, because I wonder when they are going to do that, or if they're even going to do that as well. But if you do want to buy SpaceX, you'd have to do it through the through Barron's. They will sell shares, but you can't get in an open exchange. You have to talk to them directly.
13, did you see this? NVIDIA PRing here this morning that the GeForce RTX 5060 family of GPUs, including 2 graphics cards that deliver neural rendering and NVIDIA Blackwell architecture for every gamer, starting at $299.
How many reps is it missing?
Yeah, it doesn't say in the PR. Go figure. Go figure. Anyway, NVIDIA here, we had talked a little bit. So PR here about the new 5000 series GPUs, the lower end of that series, available for sale here, $299. We've recently been talking about how AMD actually seems like they have an opportunity to close the gap a little bit on NVIDIA off this recent release here. However, Jensen Huang, praised by Trump, NVIDIA wouldn't be doing 500 billion AI infrastructure commitment without tariffs. So basically taking a victory lap there, NVIDIA did commit to building some of its chips here. Now, the market trading up here, Q's trading up here. I'm seeing NVIDIA trade up with that. I also saw a bunch of call flow here on NVIDIA out of the open. That looks like that's this week's calls. The 112 calls. So that looks like those are near the money calls. Looks like a short-term trade there expires here this week. So looks like some option flow in NVIDIA, the upside on a short-term basis.
And I've been seeing that TSMC was starting to fabricate their Blackwell NVIDIA chips at the Arizona fabrication plant. So that's already starting to happen.
Bingo.
Now, let's see. There was another point about NVIDIA that you would made me think of, and just lost it for a second there. It'll come back to me though. Yeah. Anyway.
Was it the new release of the cheaper end GPU and the competition with the AMD?
Yeah. So the point I was going to make about that is that that 5060 could be significantly a significant underperformer compared to their previous series. So I would think that some of their 40 series are going to probably be better than the 5060, just based on what we've been seeing. Like we've been seeing a lot of these previous iterations of their graphics cards underperform compared to some of the newer 50 series they've been releasing. So 5060 is probably going to be even worse than that. I don't even know why they decided to do this, but I'm sure I'm going to go through my YouTube channels and hear what all my selected experts are going to tell me about this, and I'll have a better opinion on that tomorrow. But I think we're going to probably have a lot of laughs over this, to be honest. Okay. I think this is something they should not have. This is just because they realize that AMD is having a much better time with their launch. They're better priced for very, very similar amounts of power. But the 5060, I already know the 5070 is already garbage in terms of performance. I can't imagine how worse the 5060 is going to be. Anyway, I'm nerding out over this. I'll have
it's okay. It's okay. Go off, King. It's not a big deal at all. Daniel's saying another 8 gigabyte, $350 plus chip. NVIDIA has no shame. Daniel, you are not the only person that thinks that. I think our show has actually done a pretty good job here. By the way, market at the highs here, ticking up. S&P futures up 0.5%. NASDAQ up about 0.7%, and Dow here up 0.4%. Remember, this washes away some early weakness that we saw here in the pre-market. We continue to move higher here. Looks like y'all folks are talking about Murrah. Mm-hmm. This came back in a little bit, still hasn't come to its VWAP.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Going to need to find some support soon so we can take the next leg up here. And, I'll just also make this bullet point about, some of these, especially Murrah. If it doesn't, have the big moves now, it could be one of those that ends up running later, as we've seen so many of these do, where they just make the bigger move in the afternoon.
Verve looks like this might be getting a little heavy up here at the 560 area. Jay Rice says, I was in 3 chats this AM, tons of negativism in all of them. Well, I'll tell you what, Jay, you stumbled on the right one, because we try and keep positivity going here. Glass half full approach every day. Mm-hmm. Happy to have you. Happy to have you. Okay.
It's only half full because I'm thirsty. So anyway, Rocket Lab, that hit 2120 and then started to pull. Verve hit 581, very similar price action to Rocket Lab. That looks like it's trying to top out here, but we'll see what this ends up doing. SBEV, that came off of its open, went down to the 189 low, ripped all the way up to VWAP, rejected twice. Now it's coming back into where it opened.
TMC, this really pulling back. So this, I know this was a really good trade yesterday. It was higher here in the pre-market. Hopefully nobody chased this, going through its pullback moment as we speak. Murrah might be making another move back to those highs.
Yep, here we go. This is more along the lines of what we want to see with Murrah. We want to see this one go higher and I think it very well could, but we'll see. Synergy, this one looks like it may end up going lower. It needs to recapture that 65 EMA, but currently attempting to do that, not having a great time. Volume's not looking great. I think this one may end up going lower to its 200 EMA on the 5-minute.
Tesla trading higher here. More short-term call flow into the 260 call that expires this Friday here. That's ticker TSLA. STFU is asking literally every airline is up. Delta, AAL, UAL. I'll say this. You're asking why here. First of all, I see the market trading up, so it's probably trading up with the market. We did get some pretty good news here already this morning. And the other, sorry?
Murrah's ripping.
The other thing here about the airlines, here is Murrah. Looks like this is new highs here. Maybe it'll halt. The other thing here with some of the airlines, we're having some of the gloom and doomers walk back their recession calls already. Bank of America, I hate to quote it again here. Bank of America CFO says the research team doesn't believe we'll see a recession. Remember, Goldman Sachs walked that back last week. Sometimes these airlines will tell you about the consumer. Maybe seems to be kind of a regression back to the mean. Now, as far as UAL goes, I'd be worried about that. In fact, David Prince talked about this here this morning. These stocks that are running into earnings, not appealing for earnings plays. UAL reports earnings after the close today, up 3% ahead of that report.
Webull, this one is halted to the downside. It's been halted for a little bit now. It's bull. Yeah, it's bull, dude. This thing not having a great pre-market, not having a great morning, halted to the downside. Looks like support might be about 42. The answer to life use and everything, but I don't think it's going to hold up there. It could end up going lower. Seems like 37 may be a better spot for support, but even then, I'm not 100% confident.
What was the comment about 42 right there?
The answer to life, universe, and everything.
What is that from?
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I was going to say, because I believe 42 shows up in a bunch of other things. I believe they were talking. Yeah. Okay. So maybe. So one of the things that I always thought was fascinating is that if you built a transportation system on the Earth that went through the Earth, but let's just call it like a straight tube that connected any 2 points on the Earth. Mm-hmm. Okay. You know how long it takes to get from point A to point B, no matter where they are?
Tell me.
42 minutes. You can go from here to China, 42 minutes. Here to New York, 42 minutes. All has to do with the gravity and the gravitational pull and the angle of all of that. Thought that was really interesting too. Okay, that's an aside. Talking about bull here, one of the things that we were talking about yesterday, got a lot of questions here. Can we short this? Can we short this? This doesn't make sense. Is this going to come back in? NMAX, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. We had said here that the safer way, or perhaps the more palatable way to open up a short, is to wait for options. Now, one of the first things I did this morning was check to see if bull had an option chain, and it does not. So no options yet here. This is halted to the downside. If you're going to short this, good luck. Just be careful. That's not something that I would do. I'm still going to wait for the options on this one. But we mentioned it yesterday. Might as well tell you here today.
It's open, and it's kind of whipping around right now. But I think that 41 is going to be the next stop. Thinking about it's looking for 36. He's saying it's not shortable at this stage, so we're just seeing selling. And look at how spread this is. Be careful if you're going to trade this one, folks. Maybe it gets some support, maybe it doesn't. This isn't going to be for me. It's all over the place right now.
Yesterday was the big move. Oh, and by the way, for any of you that joined late that might be looking for some IPOs, HX and PHOE. These are your two Chinese IPOs priced between $4 and $6. They're supposed to open here today. Okay, you said Murrah again?
No, I said Verve.
Verve, excuse me.
We can also look at Murrah as well, but Verve still holding that VWAP. It started to get moving. It was this current candle, this 5-minute candle that it's in right now, was really getting some quick price action. So I just blurted it out. Needs to take out that 581 high. It's getting the resistance up there. Have to get through that, or else we're coming under VWAP, I think. Now, as far as Murrah goes, that it went up to 289. We were looking for 285 to fill that gap with this one. So looks like RL nailed it. Got out at 285. We got to ring the register for him, man. That was great. So we got exactly what we wanted out of Murrah so far today. Now let's see what else we can get.
There you go. Izzy, waiting here on SQQQ, actually, as the market continues to trade up here. SQQQ should continue to diverge from that VWAP here. I'd like this probably another 60 cents lower, maybe 50 cents lower here, stalking SQQQ for a potential short-term trade. These reversion back to the mean on these ETFs, these levered ETFs have been crispy. They've been the easier ones to trade for me. So that's kind of been what I focused on. Yassine, earlier today, you were mentioning Carvana is running here in the pre-market. We didn't have time to get to it. It is running here out of the gate. Did we have any news on Carvana? No. So it looks like this up plus 7% here today. Maybe the tariff news, the auto parts news here affecting this. I would think that this would be, I mean, this is used cars, right? So I would think that anything that would be helpful to new car sales might be a negative for Carvana. Carvana here, 219 right out of the open, plus 7%.
There was a question. I think it was from Izzy. Yeah. What are we trading anything today? So I'll be going to those directional ETFs.
Yeah, that's why I answered that. That's why I mentioned.
Well, yeah, but I'm only going to start doing that once these movers really start to fizzle out and there's no real volume happening in them anymore. I'll go to the directional ETFs then. But so far today, the only two stocks that I've traded Murrah. Really liked that one for the price action, so I got that one. And then I've just been trimming my Rocket Lab position. I don't know if you remember when I was starting Space Games are starting to look pretty good again. I started doing a little bit of nibbling on Rocket Lab and Redwire. So I just started trimming Rocket Lab a little bit. My cost on that is 17.33, so not doing too bad there. But I'm not completely exiting the position. I just am trimming a little bit.
This Sky, SKYE, Sky Bioscience here. Shares are trading high. This is halted right now. Shares are trading higher after the company reported weight loss results from its drug and tirzepatide preclinical obesity model. So getting more of that here. Looks like this is joining here. This is a huge move here. 156 to 288. That happened fast into that halt.
Are we really seeing the weight loss thing come back? Because we just had let's see. Which company was it? The SNYR, the Synergy one. That was on the wellness theme as well. And now we have Sky, and then we also have the news with Pfizer and Viking. I think these GLP-1s seem to be making a bit of a comeback. It looks like. Yeah,
they sure do. I saw them covering Lilly here earlier. Lilly had its price target lowered yesterday. Guggenheim maintained its buy rating.
So yeah, on that theme, folks.
Remember pharma tariffs, though. Trump has been talking about pharma tariffs here in quote the not too distant future end quote.
Yeah, and I think that's because they want to try to get the manufacturing of their pharma products out of China and bring some of that back to the United States.
Yeah, which makes sense. Yeah, right. I'm with that. Okay, so real quick here, you guys are asking about directional ETFs. Okay,
so hold on. I was just
go ahead.
With we may want to take a look at some of these, semaglutide and names that have to do with weight loss. So I don't know that HIMSS is necessarily going to turn around and go back to that $70 high that it went to, but
it's doing well today.
Super beat up right now, so this could be one that we could maybe take a trade in at some point. But I'm just putting that on your radar for now. HIMSS has been really smashed to hell, so this could be one, if that theme is starting to resurrect, that we want to take a look at.
Yeah, a couple of things here real quick. Thinking about it, saying a lot of competition in the GLP-1 names now, indeed, and actually that's one of the reasons why we saw HIMSS move so violently both to the upside and the downside. We've been talking about the GLP-1 theme for some time in Happy Hour. This always comes up, the amount of competition up there. The thing about this is that some are going to fail, some are going to work, but the reality is that if you get gains in any of these trades, again, it's just smart to pay yourself along the way. Izzy here saying, my sister is on Wegovy and lost 60 pounds and stopped drinking alcohol completely. This is one of the other things that we've heard here is that this really helps alcoholics. Not to say that your sister was an alcoholic, of course, but it really makes you want to consume less alcohol across the board. Tons of health benefits from that as well. Obviously, the other side of the GLP-1s here are going to be some of the side effects like leaky gut and some of the really scary shit that you hear out here. Nonetheless, I still think we're in the infancy, maybe not the infancy. We're still in the early innings of this. I'd look for some of these GLP trades to continue to work.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you on the directional ETF.
You're good.
Let's help them out with that.
Dustin, our normal time here is 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Today, we're actually going to 11:30 a.m. I forgot to tell you, 13. Surprise! We're going to 11:30 a.m. because there's no Anne Marie here, and we're going to go right into Paul Meeks. We have content for you every morning. We do not stop when the market opens.
Yeah, but we won't be here on Good Friday as the market will be closed. We do not have shows on days when the market is closed.
Right. And so that actually is a really good, thank you for teeing me up, 13. This Friday is Good Friday. The market will be closed. We will not be on air. There will not be a show here on Friday. We'll probably be playing replay content.
Now, directional ETFs.
Now, thank you for keeping. I actually had forgot about it. So directional ETF. So y'all folks are seeing a number of people mention it. So that we had a question: what are they, and what directional ETFs are you looking at? Well, there are a couple here that we look at all of the time. SOXL. This is going to be your direction levered bull semiconductor ETF. So this, as semiconductors go up, this goes up 3 times as fast. The other one, the inverse of this one, is SOXS. That is the bear semiconductors. The other ones that you hear us talking about, that you heard me mention here earlier, that I'm currently watching as we speak, is SQQQ. This is going to be the ProShares variety here. This mirrors the Q. The thesis here, and then the TQQQ, sorry, the TQQQ is the inverse of this one. So these 4 are pretty prominent. We talk about these quite a bit. The thesis here that's been working, and let me turn off some of these other indicators so that's a little bit easier to see. The thesis here is that when these become extended from the VWAP, there is always a regression back to the mean. And it's that type of trade that we're trying to take. Now, I'm a long bias trader, so I like to buy the one that is down on a move back to the VWAP. So SQQQ getting pounded here a little bit. I'd like for this to be about a full $1 away from the VWAP. You can see we're about 50 cents away from the VWAP right now. If I take a look at TQQQ, which has been the other one, what happened here? There we go. If I take a look at TQQQ, this one was the move yesterday when we had the huge move down. This got to be about $1.50 away from the VWAP. That represented pretty good entry, and lo and behold, came back to the VWAP here. So we see this play out every day, no matter what's going on. So we're mentioning this as a possible trading strategy. This has been the best for me recently, way better than some of these smaller movers.
Yeah, and this has been really easy to trade to take without piling on too much risk. And when it comes to volatility, these things aren't that volatile. You just have to pay attention.
And they're
to
extremely liquid.
Yes, that's the other thing too. So your orders will get filled where you want them to get filled. I can't say enough good things about how easy these have been in this environment, and it's also made me feel a little bit safer about trading.
Me too.
In this environment. Now, I say that more on the side of I'm in and out of these things every day. These, especially when it comes to the SQQQ, you don't want to just hold that for the long term. Unless you have some kind of trade idea where you expect the market to really go down significantly in a short period of time. Otherwise, this is going to continue to lose its value over time due to degradation.
Yeah, I was going to say these things do great. Now, this is also a really key thing to mention. If you're interested in some of these directional ETFs, be sure to be here at 8:30 on Thursday, because we're going to bring some of the folks from Direction on here. We're going to talk about some of these directional ETFs and where we're seeing flows in and out of some of these ETFs. So be sure to catch that. That is Thursday this week here at 8:30 this morning.
I would not want to miss that. I don't know if I'll be up and ready to go with all of my morning responsibilities, but if you have the opportunity to watch that, I would recommend that you do.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I got asked about Rocket Lab before we get back to these movers. Rocket Lab, what levels do I have? The next one that is really interesting to me, where I would probably want to trim a little bit more, is going to be 2350. Above that, it's going to be somewhere around, in the 26 handle, more specifically between 26 and 2650. All right.
TMC did so far find some support here from the 200 EMA on the 5-minute, although it looks like this trade might be over here. That kind of gave it up. Sky here, this is open and moving higher. Actually looks like this is going to try and set some new highs. And the SQQQ turning around here without flashing an entry signal. So we'll flip. So don't have that. We'll flip to TQQQ if this continues.
Verve losing its VWAP. We're still in this candle with another minute 50 left, so it could recapture it, but it's starting to look like this is going to come back in. If we do lose the height of this of the price here, that's going to bring it down to about $4.95 to $5 is where I think the support would be.
JNVR here. This is open. This got hot. So this is interesting. This traded up on the exclusive news. Shout out to our news desk team. Looks like it had a pullback here. This was after the PR came out. And now we're right back up to those highs. Watch for this to take out the pre-market high here. I have that value exactly at 76.75. Watch that level here. Ticker JNVR. Maybe it pops above. And be careful on that one. I'm still more of a fan of adding some of these on weakness as opposed to trying to play the upside break. That's been a tuna word of advice for a while here.
Yeah, for this one,
RZLV, Resolve AI. Sorry for interrupting you. This is moving here on volume.
Oh, they got a contract.
And they got a contract, $9.8 million annual contract with Liverpool, Mexico. RZLV popping on a contract news.
For JNVR, this is probably going to be one of those, ones where you break out the fib extension because we're in blue sky territory. We don't have any previous price action to lean on where we're at right now. This is, I don't know where this goes. This is JNVR, yeah. So this could keep going. Don't know where the top's going to be, but maybe the fib extension might provide some idea of where this ends up going. Let's take a look here.
Right. Here you go. Here's what I've got for that. Next level, I have 95.65, then 140.38, 185, and 212.
All right. There you go. Let's see.
now, basically, the way I drew this, folks might draw their fib tools a little bit differently. The way I drew this is basically from the consolidation area to the top of the impulse move, back down to the regressive move. To the regressive candle here. And that's how it gave me these levels. We'll see if we get them there. How's JNVR? Oh, okay, so literally as we're talking here, this did take out the pre-market high. Watch 78 here. Looks like there was some size on that offer. And it's coming back in here. It actually just gave up 77. So, all right, watch JNVR here. There you go with some of those levels, 13. See if those hit.
Excellent. Thank you. Izzy asking me if Verve is a long-term hold, lots of upgrades, thoughts. I tend to not think about biotechs as long-term holds unless you are trying to play certain progress of their clinical trials and when they're going to announce and you have a really good idea of what's in their pipeline and how far along they are. It's just that there's always that risk of them needing to raise more capital. So that's one of the reasons why I don't like holding biotechs long term. But in the case of Verve, you look at their balance sheet, they have hundreds of millions in cash and long term investments that kind of sets them up for a pretty good amount of time. And they're losing $50 million a quarter. So based on what cash they have and the cash burn rate, they can keep doing this for about 2 more years, maybe a little bit more. But they will have to raise capital at some point if they don't become profitable. So for me, no, I would not want to hold this or really any biotech that's pre-profit. It doesn't matter how good their short squeeze is or what kind of drug they have. It's just not attractive to me. And when I think of long-term holds, they're going to be, mostly value names or really, really strong growth names. I don't think the biotechs are really either.
Strong balance sheet is normally a commonality that you have for your long-term holds. And sometimes with biotechs, that's few and far between. Tesla here, by the way, while you were while you were talking there, Tesla was ripping here, really kind of stopped at 256. I still think the 260 here is not out of the question. So this actually might be setting up for another move higher here. I'm kind of watching TSLL for a potential trade here.
Yes.
The 9 call is not even terrible here. 29-cent ask. I'll let you know on that.
Mesror is asking about levels for Synergy. This is the one of the movers from this morning. So one of the levels I was looking at was that 65 EMA. That was support early.
Sorry, which ticker? I'm sorry.
Synergy. This is SNYR.
Okay.
This is one of the movers from this morning. We were looking at that 65 EMA that needed to be support. Also had the VWAP as resistance. You can see in the pre-market, this one was getting hammered at the VWAP. Could not recapture it. Lost the VWAP. Lost the 65 EMA on the 5-minute in the process. Now we're down at the 200, where it is currently getting support. But the next thing that needs to happen is we need to start recapturing some of these previous EMAs, starting with the 9 and the 15. That'll lead us up to the 65 and the VWAP. Got to get above those if we're going to start seeing this thing turn around. We have not done that yet. So for me, I'm still waiting for this to make a move. If this does go under the 200 EMA, then we're probably going to be seeing better support closer to 250.
293, that absolutely looks like the next spot to my eye. This looks like this is in the process of rolling over right now. By the way, JNVR, that high 78.90 came back in, currently at $73. That thing's wild, kind of all over the place here today.
Yep. Let's see here. So Sky
might be gearing. This pulled back towards its VWAP. Did not quite test the VWAP, but now starting to trade up. And watch the volume stick here on Murrah. Actually, if that continues to expand, we might have something here. Really need this to get above 265 on Murrah. Watching that level as we speak.
Yep. Hey, Amanda. Good morning. And yeah, Murrah, that's looking like it's going to try and take out. I mean, it's going to have to get over 290 if we're going to see this go much higher. I think a lot of the good movement has happened, but I think this could end up being one that moves better in the afternoon once the lunch hour is over, because we are getting a little bit close to when folks start to leave their desks for the morning. That's going to happen at about 10:30 Eastern.
Here's 260. There's some size there. Oh boy, they took that. They took that size. Let's see if this can get above 265 here. Maybe it pops towards that 290. VWAP down here at 230 on that.
When you look at your price ladder for Murrah, do you see a lot of where these sellers are kind of hanging out at? I see a big amount of them at 270, 275, and 280.
I don't see them. No, those cells here are empty until the price actually gets closer there. That's what happened at 260. Looked like there was a seller sitting there that just got chomped. Here we go again. Looks like a refresh seller eaten again. I see some here at 263 and 265. Here's your 263 test. They took partial of it.
We need better volume with this one.
Yeah, still though, I think it's still worth a try here for me. I'll let you know if we get it.
Watch for that expansion. It could still happen.
That's what I'm kind of hoping for, the expansion here. Stop here at 255 if it doesn't work.
Oh, well, way to go, Gary. Everybody met that
dude, Gary, let's go.
That was great.
Let's go.
I'm getting asked about Andrew Senior TV about KRMN. This is Carmen Holdings. Volume's very, very low on this one. I don't know how much we're going to get out of this absent some kind of spike in volume. Also seeing that it's got a bit of a spread to it. Right now, it's looking like about 35-cent spread. It's just not moving enough right now, to be honest. And I don't know what this one's about either, unfortunately. I see it hasn't had much of a move this morning, only about a little less than 3% of a move. I don't know what to make.
There's your 265 on Murrah, right to 270, peeled partial there. We'll leave a trailer on. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Let's see if we can get 290 here and maybe above.
You could very well get some of that.
There's your 270. Well, okay. So far, sorry to go back here from KMRN, but Murrah here, it took those exact spots that we were looking at here. The next one that I have from the chart is probably 275. Here's a huge pull right down to that 253. Oh my God, I almost got the rest stopped there. 252 is the stop on the remaining portion of mine. We'll see if that almost got hit there. We'll see if I get taken out here. Still sold, but majority into that pop. We'll leave a trailer on here in case this thing goes buck wild.
Excellent. Well done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still. Here's the thing, 13. My big focus here today is still these directional ETFs, and I was waiting on SQQQ, wasn't getting it. Now looks like it might be back on here. SQQQ VWAP right at 35, current price here 34.50. I'd like this to really kind of come into 33, maybe even print a little bit beneath it. That would be a buy spot for me if that happens here soon.
RL is saying thank you. Hims is rolling. I saw Sweet one. Yeah, so I don't know if you were here earlier this morning, Sweet, when we covered this, but yes, it soars for a very good reason, because that that whole drug that they were developing was pretty much the majority of what they were.
Stopped rest on Murrah, all out of that one here. Small gains, little maybe lunch money there, but hey, at least it's something. Sorry, which one were you looking at here?
We were talking about Murrah.
Murrah, okay.
Yeah, and
literally yes. The one I'm focused on.
But it's soaring because now all that cash they have in the bank, which was millions and over 100 million, that's all free capital right now. They're just holding that. They're not going to be spending it on that drug development anymore or their workforce. So yeah, it's going to soar because that just increased the value of the company, because they're basically a holding company now.
And that was a really good breakdown, by the way, that you had there on Murrah this morning. Look, I hope that I'm not finishing the day yelling here. It came right down to my stop. It stopped me out of the remainder of the position, and it held there and go higher. We'll see here on Murrah. I'll keep it on the back burner in case I need to rebuy it. But Netflix, this was another one here that we talked about. Now, a couple of things. First of all, I probably should have been looking at this one. We actually had a story about Netflix here earlier today. Remember, they were talking about wanting to get to that $1 trillion level. They're looking to grow their subscriber base to 410 million by 2030. It's currently at 301 million right now. They've recently gone through the password sharing crackdown, all of that. But here's the other thing. I had mentioned on Murrah there, we were kind of looking for the expanding volume, right? That volume looked like it was starting to get wider and wider there, and that was one of the reasons why I ended up picking that to trade it here. Well, Netflix is doing that even better. Look at Netflix here. So this continued to move up, the volume continued to decline, but then all of a sudden the volume continued to push up again. Netflix continued to trade up. It never really pulled back here. Then we have this huge volume bar. This, generally speaking, is the type of volume bar I like to sell into if I'm in a short-term trade on this. Now, I wasn't in Netflix here today, but hot damn, this looks like some pretty sweet price action. Pretty sweet price action here today. And I know we talked to David Prince earlier. He said that he knows somebody that trades Netflix. We got somebody in happy hour. In fact, I'm going to go check real quick. Let's see. They don't know. I don't think he's here, so I don't know. Let me see.
CA Forsman, I agree with you to a certain degree. I think technically that they're both overvalued. That's just my opinion, but I think that that Netflix is really kind of a high value. I mean, it's the 37 PE ratio, forward PE ratio. So I kind of agree with you on that it's overvalued. But I also think Tesla's overvalued as well. But that's just my own personal opinion. I'm not looking to have a debate on it.
Here we go. Some really good stuff. Jane, Ryan is excited this morning. Way to go. I'm generally excited every morning that I wake up and that I feel good, which is almost every day. I feel pretty excited. That's kind of where I'm at today. Maybe it's an extra excitement from the Hawks winning in a shootout yesterday and their young kids really looking good. The future's bright. Maybe that's why, Jane. Anyway, Amanda here, pretty good stuff. Amanda quickly turning into our resident option expert. Good morning, Amanda. You need to be really careful with any Netflix options expiring this week. The market is closed on Friday and they're doing after hours earnings. You could get exercised and not even know it until Monday. Good Lord, wait a sec. Netflix is reporting earnings here on Friday. Here's the earnings chart.
There it is.
It is. It's on Thursday. That's on Thursday. Oh my goodness. Amanda, that is some quality heads up there. Quality heads up here. Netflix continues to run, by the way.
STF, you're not liking my comment about Tesla, I guess. I'm
He's
not
going
sure.
Greta on you?
I'm not sure if that's what he's referring to, but and then Sweetwind, yeah, I'm not suggesting that we hold Murrah for the long term or anything. I'm just saying that with the cut and it's a huge cost cut. It's a huge, massive cost cut, and now because it was beaten up on that headline that it got from having to stop their or not the update on their phase 3 trial with their drug pulling the stock down. Yeah, this is a relief rally. It's a revaluation of the company, but I agree. I don't think it's worth holding on to for the long term, but for the purpose of trading it today, I think it's one of the better
Are
ones.
any of these junky movers? Let me ask. Actually, let me rephrase that a little bit differently. Has anyone here taken a mover off one of the movers list and then held it long term? The only thing I can think of off the top of my head, and I don't have it long term, is RCAT.
Oh,
maybe some of these space stocks that we've talked about. Maybe
some of the space stocks. I mean, Cooler could be one of them. Another one could be
Cooler might be one. That's okay. Okay.
Yeah, some of these space stocks. Palantir could be another one.
Okay. The point that I'm trying to make here is that when we're talking about a lot of, and Palantir, I don't really think fits into this because it wasn't very little. When we're talking about some of these little stocks, there is no universe in which we are looking at holding them long term, unless we're very specific about that.
Some of the quantum names, some of these larger players are holding, like Ionic. That's a mover that some big names, some big prominent names are holding on.
Jay shorted Mullen. That might be the best answer to that question here this morning.
Yeah,
Rustam, thank you, saying I have RCAT. Gary saying Rigetti. And so again, those are some of those quantum, Rigetti anyway, one of those quantum names that work. Crocodile Dummy says Kettle. Okay, so you know what? This is good. There's a handful of them, but I guess the point that I'm trying to illustrate here is that this is the minority, right? These movers that we're talking about, they're mostly junk. And I think that should be the backdrop. If we uncover something that moves them from the junk pile to the this doesn't smell as bad pile, great. But for the most part, let's just assume they all start off in that crappy pile.
Yeah, STFU, when you do hold movers, they go from movers to being bags when they don't move anymore. But if they're still moving and they still have, it's a strong company with a good theme and everything like that, then I don't think those are bags. Those are just, future Apples and Amazons.
Rustam wants to take a look at NEO here. Rustam, I'm sorry, man. I don't think there's anything new here on NEO. It is basically flat. It's down a fraction of a penny. We've had no news on this. Did I miss something yesterday after hours? I don't think so. Dude, I'm sorry. We're not trying to ignore you, my man. I just don't think anything's going on here. Yeah, I don't think there's anything really to report here on NEO. This is just...
If you're going to do a Chinese EV, just do the UID. I think that's the better one to play anyway. I know that you like NEO, but I just can't look at the balance sheet and think to myself, oh, this is great.
Yeah, I'll turn this over to the chat group here. Does anyone have either a bull or a bear case here on NEO? Let's hear it for Rustam. Let's give them all. Let's give all the cases. That didn't make sense. Sorry about that. Well, I think while we're doing that, Netflix continues to rip here. I actually feel bad that I didn't trade this now. I'm kind of messing around with this Murrah piece of junk, but Netflix is going ham.
I'm personally not really looking to hold or buy any EV makers right now, especially with the Terra 4 and oversupply concerns. It's just not a space that I want to be in right now.
Yeah, that's not one that I'd like to have my money locked up in. Here's SKYE, by the way, that Sky Biosciences. It literally fell from the sky. Wisdom here saying what we all don't know is what you don't see under the desk. For Ryan's camera angle, he's got his favorite Lulus on, and that's why he's extremely happy here today.
Hey, trade comfortable, okay?
Well, so first of all, trade comfortable, you better believe it. That's like one of my mottos. But what I have on here is actually not Lulu's. Instead, it's that Legends brand stuff that you see me wearing. You see the hoodies anyway. You don't see the joggers that I'm wearing. But I will say this, Wisdom, you're kind of right, because this Legends brand seems to be like the Lulu comp for male people that prefer, or males that prefer athletic apparel. So just Check out legends.com and see what you think if you compare it to Lulu. The stuff's awesome. But I am happy you got that right. You got that right.
Oh, okay. SCFU did SoFi, so that was a really good one.
Did SoFi? You know what? I didn't even look at SoFi here today. I'm sorry.
It looks like you tell me SCFU if this is the case, but it looked like you had an actual plan with that one. And I don't necessarily think this is one of these junky names. It's a real company with that's making money. I think it's a little bit hard, but you're right. It was a mover. Absolutely.
SCFU said I had sound for a while. You're not alone. We had a gentleman. He didn't give me permission to talk about him or his name, but we had a gentleman that came on here from the pro ecosystem that was pounding the table on SOUN in a 3 and 4 handle. And this thing moved to 24. So really good move for him. Hopefully he at least paid himself on the way up, even if you do hold a little bit of a position, a longer term position. Excuse me.
JNVR is interestingly it was stuck at 75 for a second. It just moved up to 75.90. That is a pretty massive spread, folks. Be careful with JNVR if you're trading it.
Yeah, that to me doesn't look tradable. I'm not good at those big spreads. I'm normally looking for a little bit here. USAR, this did come in and found some support there at the 200 EMA on the 5. More NVIDIA call flows, which is interesting because I actually saw some of the 114 calls that expired this week out of the open here today, seeing a little bit more of that. NVIDIA is pulling back right now, but still seeing some more calls. 1100 strike on Netflix. Oh my God, that's this week? My goodness. That is extremely out of the money. I don't think we go to 1100 by the end of the week here on Netflix, but it looks like traders playing that one. I wonder if they're selling those.
Quantum is saying load the boat on Neo 150 to 2. So I guess you have some kind of plan on what's going on with Neo. Is this because if there's any kind of deal between the U.S. and China, that's going to be one of the really big movers that could run as a result of it? Maybe I just kind of thinking out loud, but tell me what your plan for Neo is if you're adding at that level.
Whoa, Tuna said Neo paid YouTubers to promote it. I didn't even know that.
That would make sense. I saw a lot of stuff coming over YouTube about how it was going to run at a certain point last year. It did have some moves, but it didn't run. So that would not surprise me. They have a lot of Chinese bots downvoting any videos that come out that talk negatively about China. By the way, folks flagging SQQQ, this on a tear right now.
See, so not in this one, damn it. But we'll just we'll get over it real quick here. Actually, now that I'm looking in hindsight, this was not enough distance. But even though this wasn't enough distance for what I'm looking for to actually enter it, this is the thesis here, right? You see the market move back and forth like crazy on a daily basis here. So why not try and play that? These leveraged ETFs seem to be the way to do that here. SQQQ was just selling out of the gate here, and then in one very quick turnaround, bang. This actually would have made a good trade if you were down here. My plan is to look for the VWAP because I can't predict the future, but if you were long this, you got rewarded here. Good call out there, 13. This was a great move here on SQQQ. This is why we look at these. I'll leave it up here. Lion saying, Amanda, are you saying Ryan is cheap? What did I miss here? What is Amanda going crazy again here? Amanda says Ryan wouldn't spend $100 on leggings. So I don't know if she's calling me cheap. I would not buy leggings, and even if I have pants that I really, really like, I generally wait for sales that bring them under $100. Amanda looks right on this comment anyway. Maybe I missed something.
Credit to the SQQQ call out goes to the chat. I believe specifically Izzy, but I thought I saw some other folks mentioning it too. They're the ones that brought it to my attention. Lion Atlas asking about APLD. That had earnings yesterday.
Yeah, and that got smoked on those earnings. How's it doing here today?
Not great.
Oh gosh, more smokage. More smokage. Yeah, Amanda, I read right through that. I got you. Looks like Lion misread that. Wink. Yeah, that's true. I shop at Costco. You should know that $100 pants are kind of off limits for me. Woo. APLD here. This absolutely cratering. Down almost 30% now. Another leg down here. I'll be honest with you. I know some folks are really good at playing some of these bounces. I don't see it here, APLD.
$3 is probably where it bounces. That would be my guess from the price action going back to September 2024. Also, this will death cross tomorrow.
Oh, here we go with these. Let's go. Death cross has been one of the terms of the day here. One of the terms of the day here. Pete, I had a nice TQQ put at 49 strike. There we go. Another Pete. Boy, we got all types of Pete's in here. It's so peaty, it's almost like a
Pete
scotch.
is neat.
Pete is neat. Oh, but we're going to have a lot of fun here. Actually got out of Tesla miraculously at 257.79. Got in yesterday at 247 just before the dump. So it sounds to me like you got 10 points on that. That's something to cheer about.
Jane, I don't think you're being cheap. You're a bargain shopper.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do, Jane, and I do the same thing there. Ryan is rocking Spanx. No, Legends joggers. Check them out.
I'll go so far to say that maybe at some of these thrift stores, you might find higher quality items than what they've got on the shelves today at some prominent supermarkets.
So one of my best purchases ever was years ago, back before dry fit was like really a common thing. I found a dry fit Under Armour brand polo shirt at a thrift store in California, and I wore that thing for years. And I think I paid like $4 or $5 for it. I mean, just that was one of my better purchases from a thrift store.
Value shopping.
Value shopping, baby.
Excuse me. Don't know what tickled my nose there, but
Clarence saying, I used to buy 2 pair of Air Jordans per year. Now I buy my clothes at Costco. That's my secret. Buy clothes at Costco and look every time that you go. So you might get a shirt here, you might get a shirt there, you might get a pair of pants here, and then you never have one of those outlays where you just went clothes shopping because you're always refreshing the line.
Saw a comment about Rocket Lab.
Let me go to it. Let me bring it up here. RKLB, Rocket Lab.
He said it looks like it's going back to bed for the day. It might. MACD is looking like it's telling us that this is going to head lower, which, it's fine. We had a nice, good move up to 2210 this morning. But, this is going to be one of those things that's going to take some time to get to go higher. One of the things that when I was talking about this last year was that I believe this will grow into its valuation. This is going to be the next big company to compete with SpaceX, in my opinion. They've already got private launch sites in New Zealand and in Virginia. One in Virginia is exclusive to the United States defense sector. So I think Rocket Lab is going to be great. It's just on a path. One of the big things that needs to happen is their Neutron rocket needs to start taking payloads up to space, and I think that's going to be coming later this year when they start testing that. So great things going to be happening with Rocket Lab, I believe.
Murrah here. This came back into its VWAP, did not quite print it. Keep this one on watch. We might actually get a curl here. It is so far curling off that 15 EMA on the 5, but watch Murrah here. If this doesn't break down and go through the VWAP, that actually might be a spot to take another trade there. So we got a possible setup here, but no trigger yet, just to use Mark Petrino's parlance. Pete here saying, I read an interesting article last night about zero-day options really fouling up the markets this year and adding a ridiculous amount of volatility. I'll try to find the link. I am absolutely interested in reading that. I don't want to put words in Anne-Marie's mouth, but I believe that she's kind of talked about this. We've talked about how some of the zero DTE options have really boosted implied volatility on happy hours. So I would be interested in that article. Let me know if you're given any trouble trying to put a link in chat, Pete. I'll find another way for you to get that to me. I would like to read that. Morning, Jay Wild. Great to see you. Hope everything's well for you out on the farm.
I don't necessarily know how to explain it, but that zero-day expiry options really screwing the market up. I might, being in the market, I understand how that all works and how it could create the kind of volatility that we're seeing. Great piece of info. I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we're seeing the market behave the way it is.
And I mean, you have a volatile market that's being more complicated by zero DTE option trading. I mean, that's, TMC here, the whole 9 yards. Great to see you again, the whole 9 yards. TMC, the 5-minute chart looks like 3 black crows followed by a curl up on the 1-minute chart. Okay, I don't know what the 3 black crows are. We did take a look at this. It does kind of feel like TMC just kind of had I almost want to say a double top. I know we punched through it here, but it looks like this just kind of was the resolution of the move yesterday. This pullback here, this is basically bringing us right back to where 277 yesterday. We were up 42% yesterday at this very same level today. So just for context, we've crashed all the way back to where we were up almost 50% as recently as yesterday. So this pullback here, I don't really think this is terrible. I guess if you were in it from the pre-market here, yeah, it sucks. But I could actually see this maybe curling here the whole 9 yards. That would be my thoughts. I don't know what 3 black crows are. 13 might, though.
Yeah, so I mean, I think he's referring to the price action out of the open here, unless you're referring to so there's 3 black crows. Imagine 3 candles with good sized real bodies in kind of a succession, one going lower than the other, kind of taking the staircase down. If you look at TMC's 5-minute out of the open, I think that's what he's referring to, unless he's referring to the ones that we just had before we bottomed here.
Ryan, take care of yourself. Good to see you here today. Sorry we never covered CMMB.
Oh yeah,
get back in there.
But anyway, if you could kind of tell us exactly which ones you're referring to. I think you're referring to the ones out of the open. But if you're not, you're referring to the 3 red candles that we just had on the 5-minute before we found this bottoming one that gave us the print of 263. I see what he's talking about. But that's essentially what the 3 crows are. It's going to be 3 downside candles with decently sized real bodies. It tends to indicate that it's when the bears take over, but it means that the bulls could. I'm not going to be really good at explaining this.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't know. I want to help you, but I just don't know.
But when it comes to the 3 black crows that he's referring to, it's the 3 sequential candles in a row going to the downside.
Here. Well, it started. We were talking about this potentially curling here. It did so far hold the 65, or excuse me, the 15 EMA. Would have really liked for that to come back into the VWAP. Couldn't do it yet here. Tuna, you had said that this wasn't quite ready yet, so maybe this dies out here. It does seem to be struggling with this 250 and change. I wasn't in this one. No test of the VWAP.
This candle, I think, is the one that we need to see get over 260, or else it's going to need some more time, like he was saying.
Lion here saying, Ryan in 13, I think the market is waiting for some clarity about these tariff things. Yeah, I mean, I think that's that is the obvious statement here, and I think that you're clearly getting tariff news dripped out here. And I guess depending on your prism, it's either chaotic and they don't know what they're doing, or it's, systematic. They're intentionally not giving you the entire plan. Either way, whichever way you look at it, this uncertainty is still around. Now, I'm all for removing uncertainty, but how much uncertainty is actually going to get removed? And how quickly could it change from week to week or day to day, frankly?
Here comes Murrow. They just got a large bid at 254, trying to push it up. We'll see if it gets it.
I'm going to take TQQQ off my other chart here because I'm kind of watching those back and forth for the rest of the day here. But I want to see what's going on with the Murrow level 2.
Chopped Coop, same as 3 red soldiers. I think you're referring to the black crows. I thought it was white soldiers, which is the bullish, version of the 3 black crows. But yes, 3 red soldiers, if you're going to call them that, it's the same thing as 3 black crows. Yeah.
Okay. Chopped Coop, pretty sweet name. What kind of chopped coop do you have? Or is that your profession? Do you chop coops for a living? Murrah here, this is good. I am agreeing with you. This area right here, like, what'd you say, 255, 256? It's got to get above one of those here on this push. Otherwise, I think we're rolling over to the VWAP.
Yeah, I was looking at 255 to 260.
255 to 260. Okay.
And it's looking like it's weakening a little bit here.
The 252 has the most volume traded there. I see 6.5 million shares traded just at 252.
CA Forsman, they don't trade. They can't see shit.
You guys are great.
Yeah, I agree with that line atlas. The market's kind of just, trying to figure out which direction it wants to go. Let me just take a look at the SPY here. We're kind of inside the price action from yesterday. So this is just, more of the market kind of compressing before it makes its next move. To the upside, still looking at that the 20-day SMA. We also have the 550 level and the 10% correction level. Those are all going to be upside areas that are going to provide resistance. To the downside, it's going to be previous all-time highs that I'd be looking at. We've made it through this consolidation of previous all-time highs from about 530 to 537. But we could fall right back into that consolidation as well. But I agree, we're kind of just going sideways right now.
Someone asked earlier about Spotify, and whoever that was that asked, make sure I'm getting this correct. Maybe you asked about Shopify. I mix those up all the time, but I'm pretty sure that you asked about Spotify. I'll go back to Murray here in a sec. We covered that. 265 really just got dropped here. 270 is going to be your next spot. Spotify. This is actually a service that I pay for and use because being able to play Spotify in the car, it's just worth premium. I also do this for all of my working out podcasts, the whole 9 yards. So I do pay for this. I love the product. I love Spotify. I love using it across all of my devices. I do want to own this. But one of the things that I've been saying here is really kind of want to add this on weakness, the 200-day. And gosh, we haven't touched the 200-day in years. So my thing here is I really want this to come back in and or have the 200-day catch up with it. I thought we might be getting that here when this thing broke 500, but I don't know. I'd love to see this maybe find some resistance here at the 50, roll back over, and finally give me entry here around the 200. I'd be on this. I like Spotify a lot, and I pay for it. One of the few subscriptions I pay for. Let me go back to Murray here. I'm sorry for changing away right before it did that. I just wanted to cover some of that.
One thing about Spotify that I'm seeing here is that it has been getting suppressed by the 20-day SMA ever since it lost the 50. We're going to need to see it close above that, multiple closes above the 20-day SMA, but it looks like today could provide one of the earliest closes. If we can hold on to the 20-day SMA and then subsequently recapture the 50, this is looking like it could get back up above 640, maybe even higher. It might be one of those W-shaped recovery situations.
Okay, Murrah here. Interesting. Putting in more resistance here at 270. This now becomes the spot.
Trend line.
Not a bad idea either.
Yeah, I like that. Look at that. Look at that wall that is placed at 260. Oh, if you have your price ladder up, I don't know if you.
Yeah, I do. I do.
There's a lot of sellers right there at 260. I don't know if you can see them.
Not at the moment, but I'll take your word for it. They have been there. I've seen. Excuse me. Oh. I've seen 260 get refilled a few times here today.
Our RL is killing it with Murrah today. Well done, dude. Well done. I think he said it's a second time.
Out of Murrah at 265. That was one of the levels we were highlighting. Yep. Well done, RL. Notice how RL traded that. We didn't tell him to buy it.
Nope. He did that all on his own. We're just identifying
this whole show works.
Yep. Making that RL money.
A chopped Model A coupe, my personal hot rod, like an old school Model A that you chop. Oh my! Send me pictures, bro.
What'd you drop it?
Yeah, what's in it? I mean, I'm curious. I'm curious. I'm a car guy too. So I can't do any of like the old body remodeling, chop. I can't, that was never part of my expertise. My expertise was using a computer to reprogramming something to make it go vroom vroom and bolting on Chrome stuff that made it go vroom vroom. So what you're doing is really important. If you wouldn't mind sharing that, you can always email me pictures of cars here at my email address.
Is that Model A a 31, by the way? I'm curious to know.
Sorry for digressing. I know old vintage cars are not everyone's cup of tea, but that stuff interests me. I don't know what to tell you. Actually getting some body work done on my car here these next 2 days. I got to say goodbye to it for 36 hours, but it is going to come back looking like an angel from heaven.
You'll be okay.
Yeah, it's going to be fine. It's actually going to be sick, to be quite honest with you. Pro Trader Key is asking, where is the chat? So the chat is probably mostly in YouTube. We stream this stream to Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter, and I think or X, and I don't think X has a chat, right? So YouTube and Twitch have the chats. They're amalgamated. I see comments from everybody, no matter what platform you're using right here. So I respond to everybody like we're in the town square. But I would say that most of the chat happens via our YouTube audience. Pro Trader Key.
Oh, excellent! It is a 31 Model A. So if you look that up, you'll know exactly how badass that is.
Okay, and thank you, producer. We got our producers here are just awesome. I have to do less running around because they do a great job. So be sure to pat them on the back if you ever see them. X does have a chat. Restream doesn't allow our comments to go there for some reason. So the amalgamated chat that we're using here, we cannot send chats to you, but I see all of you folks from X, I see all of you folks from Twitch, and I see all of you folks from YouTube.
Murrah's trying to get that,
that
seller taken out. That was at 260. They dropped they walked it down a little bit to 275. I don't see enough volume taking it out yet, but keep an eye. Oh, they just deleted it. They just took it out. They might get a break here with Murrah. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and I'm watching. So that trend line has us at 266, 266, 270 seem to be the spots. 269 has 3.5 million shares traded right there.
Yassine is saying Eleanor will always be my favorite. That is the 1967 Shelby GT500.
Yep, that is the one from Gone in 60 Seconds. Fun fact, Yassine, Eleanor. So my first car was a Mustang. I loved Gone in 60 Seconds. In fact, for about a week, I thought my career was going to be stealing cars. And then I thought better of that, but that's neither here nor there. What I did do for a while is I did start naming cars girls' names like they do in the movie.
Yep.
So like Lindsay, Bernadine, Cassandra. I mean, oh man, I
got Sophie out in the garage right now.
Yeah, I actually don't know. I don't have a name for my new one that's right now, but
oh, it'll be beautiful. I know
it'll come. It's got to come naturally. I can't force it. Mm-hmm. Steve here saying, I'm there with you. I have a twin turbo F-150 that looks stock, but it's got 660 wheel horsepower. Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? There goes Murrah. Okay, so oh shoot, right into the halt.
There it is.
Into the halt.
No, it's not halted. It's still going.
No, it's still going. Excuse me. So this is it's nice to see this, but a bit frustrating for me personally. I left the trailer on here hoping that it was going to go. It came back in and stopped me out, and then it went. Still made money on it though.
That was fantastic.
Could have been more. That was awesome. And that was awesome. There on 310, the high print. Sorry,
trend line. I love
it. But I'll tell you what. Not only did that go through 266, that went right through 270 as well.
And 285.
That was really awesome.
Yeah, the 285 level. It deleted that. Went right through it. I don't know how much more is going to be in this thing, but it might come back later. But now they have another series of sellers really trying to take this down, but it's still moving. This is a lot of attention on it. I don't know where this goes, but we could see the high side of $3 again. Let's see what happens.
Pro Trader Key says should go to 319. So 319, another target here. The high print so far 310. How did you get that 319 target? Just out of curiosity.
You're asking Pro Trader. Okay.
Yep, I'm asking. You know what? Is it the bottom of this candle? No, that is 322. Is it the bottom of this candle? That's 287. Let me know where you got 319 from. It almost went right there. 310. Again, your high print.
Really
Daniel's asking what a death cross is. Daniel, here. We've talked about so many death crosses here. I'm going to give you an article that we wrote this morning that actually has an explanation in it. Check out that article. It will explain it and give you some more context, or I should say contextual information around that.
Yeah. Real quick is, you have the 50-day SMA and the 200-day SMA. And when the 50 crosses the 200 to the downside, that's a death cross. When it crosses it to the upside, that's a golden cross. If they oscillate, I really don't put a lot of weight on those. They have to be a meaningful move up through the 200 or down through the 200.
Let's see what the options are telling us. Yeah.
See, I see what Pro Trader's talking about here, because what he's doing, and you tell me if this is how the case, Pro Trader, you're looking at these levels, you're seeing where the price action stops, and you're going, okay, I'm not going to go right there. I'm going to go just before it so that I can make sure that my orders fill. You tell me if that's kind of what you're going by doing by seeing by hitting these 11 cent, 19 cent levels. Because I've done that too, because you see a lot of price action where there's like a massive wick all the way up to a certain price, and you're like, okay, maybe that's not where I'm going to have my my exit be at, because that's the very top of the price range. But let's make sure that my order actually fills by bringing it down a little bit more. So you tell me if that's what you're doing, because I've done that, and it ensures your order gets filled, especially when you have a volatile stock.
Good stuff there. Tesla, by the way, ripping this, taking another leg higher here. This is a pretty decent move off that 254 VWAP level from earlier. Didn't take TSLL. So we were talking earlier about directional ETFs. So here's another one. And this has actually been great for trading Tesla here. This is the Direction 2X Bull Directional ETF, ticker TSLL. This moves 2X what Tesla moves. So again, to the upside, right? So if you think Tesla's got upside momentum, this is one of the things to be in. This also has options. Everything's liquid. You can do whatever you want with these directional ETFs. This move in here on that Tesla pop.
Pro Trader confirming that's what he's doing. Excellent stuff, man. Excellent. Murrah has resistance levels all the way from 310 to 470. Yeah, it really does, especially from the let's see, I think that was the entirety. No, this goes all the way back to 2023, before you had that big drop off. So you just got a ton of consolidation from the range that Daniel was mentioning, and that's great, because that provides a lot of entries and exits for trading.
Apple, this is 3 minutes old. Apple imported iPhones worth nearly $2 billion from India to U.S. ahead of the Trump tariff customs data. Foxconn sent highest ever iPhones in a month, worth $1.3 billion from India to U.S. ahead of the tariffs. So clearly, remember, we had Trump make comments yesterday. I helped Tim Cook recently. That might be what was going on there. Apple looks like they're going to be all right, at least in the near term here. That just basically gives the deal more runway, as well as moving to India. It just gives it more time.
And
interesting.
Doesn't that kind of take off some of the risk with China, them being in China?
It sure seems like that to me. Not all of it, but it sure seems like it reduces it 13.
Yeah, so it seems like as time goes on, with the way that for Apple in particular is trying to move away. Can't say the same about Tesla right now, but the way that Apple's trying to move out of China, the more the time goes on, the less of a leverage or a playing card that China has, it seems.
Love this here. Jay saying your guest this AM has been nibbling on Meta. That was David Prince. That shout out to David. He told us before he would do that he would nibble on Meta. And now it seems like he's doing what he said he did. Yeah, I'll take that. David was great this morning. He was great this morning. Really good stuff. Those T3 guys are awesome. They really are awesome.
I got 520 as a really important area for Meta, and it went beneath it and recaptured it. We're coming back down to it again.
Go to your daily chart here real quick. Let me take a look at the time here, make sure we're okay on time.
Thank you, Ivan, for that update. He's saying that the European Union says that tariff talks have not progressed, but there's still talks, so that's a positive. And I anticipate that they may not, see some meaningful progression. Maybe not this week, but there's the whole push right now by the Trump administration, at least what I've been seeing on from what they've been saying, is they want to try to get 90 deals done in 90 days. So we've got plenty of time for talks to progress. But thank you for that update on the info. I think that could have some market moving implications.
Yeah, and I think some of these comments here, well, we're going to make exceptions for microchips. We're going to make exceptions for some automobile parts, stuff like that. I think that's just kind of adding to the extended runway. I think the big thing here, I think it's fairly safe to say that the idea here is to impart small levels of tariffs on most things, and then give as a baseline, and then give companies that are willing to work with us more leeway here, while all at the same time really sticking it to China. I think that we're pretty safe in figuring that that's the game plan here.
The one from earlier, the Synergy, the SNYR, I'm seeing that this is recaptured its 200 EMA on the 5-minute and the 9. It's working on the 15 right now. Next would be the 65. This is starting to come back up. So we might see some better movement out of this one as the day progresses.
Okay, folks, let's take it. I got to make sure I'm being respectful for our guests. We've got 1 minute left here. We're going to go to All Access. All Access is going to come back to us, 13.
Okay.
Because there's no Anne Marie today, so we're gonna come back here and close the show out with you for an extra half hour. You guys get a bonus half hour of 13 and his top tier dad jokes. Any parting messages here, real quick, as we move over to All Access?
See you in a bit.
That was a very, very quick parting word from 13. You absolutely got to love that. That's really good stuff, 13. Good news here, 13 is going to be right back. So don't go anywhere. But what we're going to do really quickly here, we're going to bring on Dan Leach, I don't know if you folks know this. Dan's family invented the Toyota Prius. Let's ask him about it. Dan, how you doing here today?
Doing great. Listen, we wanted to, fossil fuels not good sometimes. We wanted to make the environment better. So we all collectively got together after my dad did it, that toaster strudel back in the day.
Oh, okay.
We wanted to go EV, so we did it.
Well done, Dan. What do you got coming up for us on All Access, boss?
Great to see you, by the way, Rye Guy.
It's great to be seen.
Lance Allstott, the chairman and CEO of BioRestorative Therapy, is really looking forward to sitting down with him, my friend.
Okay, that sounds good. You're in good hands with Allstott. All Access starts right now.
We definitely are. Hey, Zingers, and welcome to All Access. I've got a wonderful guest for you today. It is Lance Allstott, the chairman and CEO of BioRestorative Therapies. The NASDAQ ticker is BRTX. He is joining us for an exclusive talk today. All Access starts right now. And it is my pleasure to welcome in the chairman and CEO of BioRestorative Therapies, Lance Allstott. Fantastic to be with you today, Lance.
Dan, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, the pleasure and honor of mine. I guess we are in good hands with Allstott.
I've heard that once before, so but I enjoy that comment every now and then. Everyone.
Well, I'm thinking about Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back Mike Allstott. You both have great.
Allstott, not a relative, but spelled a little bit differently. That guy was a beast.
Both of you amazing people, though. Can you start out here, Lance, and give us an overview of BioRestorative Therapies?
Sure. BioRestorative, NASDAQ listed, emerging growth cell therapy company. And what we're doing is really advancing stem cell science to address unmet needs in chronic pain and metabolic disease. We do this through 3 primary platform technologies. We have an autologous cell therapy, meaning we use the patient's own cells to address chronic pain and musculoskeletal pain. Within that platform, we are in a clinical stage and enrolling patients in our phase 2 clinical trial to validate our product candidate for chronic lumbar degenerative disc disease or lower back pain. I always say it's not a matter of if, it's when you get lower back pain. So what we're talking about is a massive market opportunity. We recently also just received great FDA news pertaining to that trial and that specific product technology. Our second platform is something called ThermoStem, and it's an allogeneic or an off-the-shelf cell therapy. It's a cell line that's derived from adipose fat tissue, and it's used for metabolic disease. So obesity and type 2 diabetes, for example, we're really targeting the most massive healthcare issues, for example, in the world today. So another huge market opportunity for us. We have preclinical data from a mouse model with respect to this technology. It showed tremendous efficacy, and we think this technology has a high degree of mitochondria, which will provide great effectiveness and broad applicability throughout the body. And lastly, in terms of the overall description of the company, we have a commercial platform harnessing our expertise in molecular biology and cell manufacturing. We formulate a cosmeceutical product, which is a secretome-based product used for topical use, cosmetic use. We have very big expectations from this program, given the potency and the quality of this product relative to the competition. And we have a lot of catalysts related to this program that we're going to talk about in the months to come.
That's very incredible and important work you guys are doing. And I wanted to talk about how your stem cell therapies work.
Yeah. So, for example, let me walk through a patient experience in our lower lumbar study. Patient has, remember, this is an autologous product, and when I say autologous, I mean we use the patient's own cells. So the patient goes and gets their cells harvested. We harvest it from the iliac crest. It's through a very modified bone marrow aspiration, which means we harvest these cells very pain-free, 11-minute procedure. We take those cells. We don't need a lot of cells because what we're doing with this cell matter is we're bringing it to our GMP ISO certified 7 clean room facility here in New York, where we're going to expand and culture these cells to hundreds of millions of cells. And we do it in this hypoxic condition, meaning a low oxygen tension. The reason we do it in hypoxia, which is really where most of the IP around our novel technology resides, is what we're trying to do is condition these cells to survive the harsh elements of these avascular zones in the body. So the disc, for example, is a very harsh environment, very difficult for cells to live, to expand, to proliferate in these harsh conditions, low blood flow, low oxygen, low pH. So we try to really create this environment for the cells to grow within that environment to resist that really harsh microenvironment of the disc. We then take those cells and we combine it with the patient's own autologous platelet lysate, which serves as a carrier. So it brings the cells together with the carrier to keep those cells from dying off too prematurely. And we cryopreserve the product. We send it to the clinic. The clinic prepares it very uniformly, thaws it, and injects it directly into the nucleus of the disc under fluoroscopy. It's a very simple procedure. It's sophisticated. It's elegant relative to the alternatives, which is a traumatic open surgical intervention or conservative therapy where we're using pharmacological solutions like opioids, which is a whole separate conversation that we can have. But the process is incredibly safe. It's autologous. There's a strong bioenvironmental match because it's your own cells, and we're seeing tremendous efficacy related to this as we expect that the cells begin to scaffold and proliferate within that disc environment. And what it does is it takes a tremendous amount of inflammation out of the area and starts to regenerate that disc. And what we're looking to really fix are herniated discs, lacerations within the annulus tissue, and a variety of other structural issues that this product technology can actually regenerate and reform and solve the problem.
It's really fascinating stuff, Lance. And I know you're, as you mentioned, you're doing a lot of cutting edge stuff. How is your approach to the stem cell therapy novel?
Well, it's novel in that it's we do it under hypoxia, and like I said, that's really where this low oxygen tension. So we use about less than 5% oxygen tension. The air that we breathe, for example, is normoxic. Many of our competitors and other cell therapy companies do not use hypoxia. So the idea that a cell will survive in normoxic conditions in that expansion process, and then the implementation or injection process into the disc space is somewhat preposterous. We don't think that from a long-term data perspective, normoxic cells going into these harsh environments will ultimately survive long enough to do the job they're intended to do. And Dan, these are miracle cells. These are cells that are so well conditioned for that bioenvironment that we just need for them to be in residence for a long enough period of time such that they can do what they're intended to do.
What a time to be alive, Lance, that's for sure. Let's talk about your plan to accelerate your ThermoStem brown fat program.
Sure, thank you for asking. So we have advanced discussions with strategic partners outside of the US to initiate a first-in-man study on the clinical side. So getting out of that preclinical into clinical, we had, like I mentioned earlier, some mouse models that we looked at weight loss and increase of cardiovascular respiratory conditions. Now we're looking to get into humans, and we're doing it potentially with a strategic partner outside of the US. We are in advanced discussions with strategic partners in terms of licensing this technology outside of the US, and hopefully taking a lot of that data, collecting it, and then using it in connection with an FDA organized study.
For sure. Let's tell you, as you well know, Lance, the biocosmeceutical space you've entered is massive. I know you currently have an agreement with Cartessa to manufacture XOCR. What other plans do you have to bolster commercialization within this specific industry?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this is a massive market, the cosmetic market, the biocosmeceutical market. In a good economy, in a bad economy, recessive economy, people want to look better, feel better. We've got the best technology out there, given our expertise in molecular biology and manufacturing of cell-based products. We formulated something that's extremely potent relative to the competitive landscape, and truly a product of a biotechnology organization. And we intend to bring on very shortly, and this is news that I'm even giving a wink to it, a veteran in the industry to help us accelerate our commercialization strategy within this type of technology. We've begun to test a family of secretome products for a variety of cosmetic applications and for hair loss as well. So we've basically created a post-procedure and a shelf-stabilized product, really broadening our capabilities and our product offering within this category.
I'm all in for the hair loss stuff, my man. I need some help with that.
We've been testing a lot of people right now. The results are fabulous. It's for men and for women. You'd be surprised how many women are really interested in the hair product to thicken their hair and to eliminate pattern baldness. So we're very happy with the preliminary results.
Yeah, no, massive market. And in some organ news, I know you recently received fast track designation approval from the FDA on BRTX 100. Can you explain the significance of the approval?
Yeah, I mean, this is a major milestone for the company, something we're really proud of. This will ensure that we have clear communication with the FDA, and the goalposts will be very clearly defined for what we need to do to pursue a BLA license, which is our ability to commercialize the BRTX 100 technology for chronic lower lumbar disease. Our expectations include perhaps reducing the number of patients enrolled in our study, as well as the timing of our trial and our ability to reach a BLA in a shorter period of time, which means less dollars being spent in connection with that clinical process.
And to you, Lance, what are the most exciting developments or trends you're seeing right now in cell therapy at the moment?
Look, cell therapy is back! Exclamation point. The remaining companies are very limited because we're really the ones that truly had the superior technology and the strong management teams and the strong capitalization to survive the trend, if you will, back in 2010. So the ones that are remaining are the ones that are really driving the quality of the efficacy that we're starting to see. For the first time, there's been cell therapies approved by the FDA recently. The new administration is generally very supportive and favorable to finding solutions rather than just repeating transactional based medicine, which bodes very well for what we're doing. And it feels like the agency is becoming much more interested in cell therapies overall in a variety of ways. And we're encouraged to take advantage of this moment in time where some of our key data will soon be available to review and acknowledge the safety and efficacy of this really important product technology.
A lot of incredible stuff going on at BioRestorative Therapies right now, it's for sure. It was an absolute pleasure talking with you, Lance. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You as well. Honor and pleasure all mine. That was the chairman and CEO of BioRestorative Therapies, the great Lance Allstott. Their ticker on NASDAQ is BRTX. Now let's send it back to Masters champion Rory McIlroy's backup caddy, the great Ryan Faluna.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what, I'm feeling all good with that throwback here. I'd love to be a caddy for one of these pro golfers. You basically carry a bag, and if they win, you win.
What a job that is. And you get to go to the most beautiful places on earth. I mean, Augusta is like this just picturesque, genius place. What a thing that would be to be a pro caddy.
I read that Scotty Scheffler's caddy last year made more than like 90% of the golfers on tour because he won so much. And plus, like, sign me up, Dan. Sign me up. Get your contacts working, buddy.
I'm working on it right now. My toaster strudel money is getting through to you.
Let's go. All right, Dan. Really good stuff there. BRTX. I feel like we've traded that before. We'll catch you next time. All right. Really good job with All Access.
Always great to see you, Ryan.
Take care of yourself. That is Dan Leach. He is awesome. That was actually a really good one too. Really interesting stuff there. Loved the crack about hair loss. That will always score bonus points. Okay, let's welcome 13 back on here. 13, I'm going to go ahead and throw my charts up as well. While that was happening, I don't know if you were paying attention here. I was watching the All Access, but I also had Murrah here on a chart. This actually came back in, looked like it was going to back test the trend line that we broke out from, as well as finding some support there at the 15 EMA. Now, we did not quite get down there, but so far we're holding in here. I got to say, if this has some more upside, I'm thinking 287 is your spot here.
Yeah, that's okay that it didn't quite touch the trend line, because look at where those candles were coming down to, the 260, the 265 area where we were getting out of the last time that was coming up here and got rejected. So that's not a bad idea, because that was previously resistance. Now it's support. That's looking pretty good. What we want to see happen next is we want to see a move over 290 again.
Okay. And then, of course, we have the high print there, 310, if we can get all the way up. This is not going away yet until this breaks down through the VWAP, where we really start to see some of the selling volume increase and expand. I don't think that this is necessarily over yet.
Yeah, and remember that 285, that's where we were looking at earlier this morning for a resistance area based on the previous price action. So 285, that level got to get recaptured for sure. But it looks to me like we did get over that and ran up to 310. We came back in. We did get the next candle did get above 285, but stopped short of 290. So still looking at 285, but also looking at 290. And it looks like it's kind of going sideways at the moment right now.
Okay, interesting stuff there. I am noticing that S&P futures here ticking up. I am seeing a headline here. Trump spoke on the phone on Tuesday with Sultan an Oman and discussed the Omani mediation between the U.S. and Iran on a new nuclear deal. That's courtesy of Axios. That headline just crossing the wire here. S&P futures, I don't know if they're maybe not anymore. They were ticking up here, although they've backed off that. So okay, let's take a look.
BRTX, that was the good one. by the way.
Yeah, so so that's too funny. First of all, again, just a great job there by Dan and Lance, and it's great that my Allstott joke didn't offend the guest. I guess I should have thought about that ahead of time. At least at least he had heard it before. Crazy that the good one ends up coming on one of the all access here. Wild stuff here. Not a whole lot of action and volume here yet in this stock today, but not bad, and it is up off of its lows, up off of the support level as well. Interesting. That's pretty funny. SKYEs is another one that was going earlier. Look at the return back to reality here. Maybe this curls and goes up to the VWAP, still 48 cents between the current price and that VWAP price. This looking like it's trying to curl. Really got to see some buying volume flow in here, though.
Let's see here with this one.
I ran around at Bighorn as security for Tiger Woods and Sergio Garcia. James, that actually sounds sweet. That sounds really cool. How are those security jobs working for celebrities? Would imagine that they kind of do their own thing. Nonetheless, cool.
Yeah, so
Verve breaking down here. Get in there. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sky, 230 might be where it might find some trouble at. I mean, you could also do it as soon as 215, but the volume is really not good in this one anymore. The only thing that is looking okay to me is that the MACD appears to be trying to curl back up. Now, if we do get some follow through with the price, and this does turn back up and take out 215, 230, I think that another test of VWAP is coming. But beyond that, I don't know how much higher it's going to go. The volume really does need to get better than this.
By the way, as you were talking there, I'm seeing multiple repeat Rivian put sweeps all in the same strike and expiry here. Each leg of these sweeps here, 1,200 contracts about. Looks like there was 6 of them. There's 9,500 contracts traded at this strike and expiry here. Again, that's the May 9 put. May 9 put. You know what? YOLO, I'm going to take a few of these here and follow this in. I can totally see Rivian kind of falling out of bed here. That was a 21-cent ask. These are cheapies. I followed long the May 9 put on Rivian off this multiple aggressive put sweep.
Now, let me ask you, because I think it wasn't Volkswagen that took a stake in this?
Yeah, a while ago. We actually already sold that pop off. And in fact, here.
Well, the point is that if they still are holding it, then wouldn't that affect Volkswagen stock as well?
Okay, maybe. I didn't think that far ahead on that one, but you might have a pretty good point in here. Still in a downtrend here. 9 would represent this support level, the lower support level here. We'll see if we get that.
And I think when I look at Volkswagen stock,
what's the ticker on that again?
I'm looking at VLKAF. It's Volkswagen's OTC,
right?
But the price action we've had so far, in March has been down, and it's looking like it could be a bit of a bear flag, getting rejected at the 200-day SMA. We did have a golden cross back in March, but it's I don't know if there's really a whole lot here, especially with the tariffs hitting them as well. I don't know that this golden cross is necessarily going to result in more upside. I mean, it could, but it's right now the stock looks bearish to me.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, that's great for the trade here. I normally don't take trades based solely off unusual option info, but Rivian is one that I've seen struggle time and time again, and these are cheapies. You can take a little position here and almost forget about it. And in fact, I've been going to great lengths to shout out Matt Maley and how on point he has been recently. I noticed that some of the ones that he takes these, I don't want to call them lottos because they're not really that, but takes some of these lotto-ish bets. They're all cheap. He's never doing this with expensive contracts. So Benzinga Pro here uncovering some of our own. We'll take that there. Rivian. Okay.
And that was okay. Amanda, RSI is high in here too with Woodstock.
Is that Volkswagen?
There goes Murrah. See ya.
Oh my, look at that. 310. Remember, 310's that high print. What did we get to on this last candle here? 303.
Yeah, 303, 304, something like that.
Flyers, STFU flyer. I like that a lot more. I really do feel like Lotto should really be reserved for gambling. I don't think risk management is necessarily gambling, so I don't really like using those terms. I don't think a method of being profitable is to continually take lottos or high risk trades, but this one seemed pretty good.
Just looking around to see if there's anything else that's moving now that we got some movement out of Murrah.
That's coming back up to 3 here. Watch that 303, 310, your 2 spots here on Murrah.
And it's holding above 290. Well, it was just a second ago, but that was the spot I was talking about earlier that it needed to get through. Looks like Verve had a green candle after hitting the $5 psych level. Don't know if we're going to get a reversal out of this. The volume is quite low with this one, but that did hit a pretty important level there that could be used as reversals. We'll see. SBEV, this one that we didn't take a look at, we kind of wrote off after it lost the some levels. This recapturing a bunch of levels is trying to recapture the 65 EMA. Next is going to be VWAP, and then this thing's back in business. You don't like the 0 DTE degeneracy?
Yeah, and Amanda, I'm assuming you're talking about Murrah. There does look like there's a lot of resistance there at 3, but you know what? I got to imagine you were in that from lower. That's going to be a winning trade if you're all out at 3.
And there's SBEV moving through the 65 EMA. It's coming up to my VWAP, but I don't think it's a little bit of a ways from yours.
Yeah, 241 is the VWAP that I have here on SBEV. Here's your 3 test on Murrah, by the way. There's size there. They hit it. It's real.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Tiffany Gomez. These not real. Okay, this is real. They actually hit some more there at 3. We'll see if they've got the strength. That's 2 presses at it, and they've not been able to take it out yet.
Yeah, and you know, when it comes to Murrah, I mean, this has been great this morning, but we are getting into that area where we're already in that time where things are slowing down. People, traders are stepping away from their desks. We might not get as much volume as we were earlier. So I'd say at this point, thank Murrah for what it's giving you, and just protect yourself from here on out. Maybe there's not a whole lot left in this one, but we'll see.
And you know what? It looks like they're walking down some of the size there. It looks like 296. They walked a chunk down there. Couldn't get above it that time.
Yeah,
so maybe you might be right here on Murrah.
I just don't know how much more is left. Maybe it does go to $4. It's certainly possible, but you're gonna have to figure out how you're gonna want to trade that if you're looking for more out of this. I think if you've traded this and you've been nailing it like Gary and I forgot who else did, but they were nailing it and they did really well. So let's not try not to give any of it back. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, the next safe move here might just be being patient and seeing what happens at VWAP if we get there. Otherwise, maybe chasing some of these upside breaks not the best idea here. Doesn't seem to be the environment for that. All right, what has anyone else got out there that looks pretty good? Anything?
I think you might have a better time with SBEV at this point, but all these movers from this morning, they just the volume's not there anymore. So yeah, this may be the time where it'd probably be a better idea just to start looking at the directional ETFs and trading those because those are liquid. They have volume.
Yeah, now with the market doesn't really seem terribly volatile right now. By the way, that just reminds me, VIX here, 28.99. So not only are we not in a 30 handle anymore, we actually broke beneath 29. Netflix might be curling back up there, but okay, let me take a look here at SQQQ. We're pretty much right at the VWAP. No trade there. God, I hope I do get another opportunity. We'll see. We're going to be patient. We're going to be patient on this one. Hello, Alto back up to 174. I still think I like that in a 160 handle. I'm trying to be patient.
And look, that's who it was. RL. He's the other one with Gary that's been killing Murrah. He just had another win.
Charles wants to take a look at Palantir. We did look at that earlier. Palantir, more resolution to the upside. Okay, so I had talked earlier about maybe watching this as a particular spot. Charles, good stuff here. Looks like we're not above that yet. 97 looks to be the spot, the breakout spot here on Palantir. We'll see. I would imagine if it takes that, it probably challenges 100. Probably prints that too, actually.
If it takes that 97, it's going to challenge that high from yesterday. And that high from yesterday is about where the resistance is too, because the only other print we've had above there since last month was from the 25th, when we got as high as 98.17. We were also getting asked from James about the PE on Crowd, Palantir, and Dash. What's up?
74% of this comes from Unusual Whales, by the way. Great Twitter follow. 74% of CEOs acknowledge they could be out of a job in 2 years if they fail to deliver meaningful AI-driven gains. That is per Business Insider. 74%. Boy, oh boy. That number seems high.
Well, I don't think that includes Musk, but it probably does include Cook.
You're probably right about that.
You know what? That's actually, I was starting to joke about that, but then I thought, you know what? That might be true, because
Bust on Palantir. Sorry for interrupting.
No
the 97 level we just talked about just fell.
And it's just trying to take out that high from yesterday, 97.33. I was just joking about the Apple and Tesla thing, but now that I think about it, Apple's really far behind on the AI. So he could definitely lose his job. Absolutely.
You know what, though? I'm just going to say today here, tax day, April 15th. I got to think that if we get just one random day, whenever this is, I have no idea. If we get a PR or a piece of news that Tim Cook is stepping down from Apple or Apple is replacing Tim Cook, I think the stock rips on that news alone. Just because the talk about innovation under his tenure has been so poor that simply him resigning is going to be a positive catalyst for the stock.
I agree with a bullet point, with maybe an asterisk, that I don't know how much it's going to soar, because it could be detrimental to whoever's replacing him. But there's also that headwind of a lot of assets they have in China.
Yeah, the China thing is its own thing. I don't dispute that at all. I'm just thinking that the sentiment on Tim Apple, as he's sometimes called, the sentiment on Tim is just so poor that I feel like him leaving would result in a pop in the stock.
I think you're right about that.
Who would replace him? I wonder if it would be Luca. I don't know. That's a joke. I don't think he would, but I don't know who would replace him. Pro Trader says agreed. Yeah, I think that would be the case.
Hopefully someone younger.
Yeah, STFU mentioning Apple has Apple Intelligence and it's kind of crap. I'll be honest with you. I have been trying to find a good use case for Apple Intelligence, and I haven't. And in fact, when I got the S25, I tried the AI that's in here, where you basically just talk to it and it talks. It is so much better. Like it's not even close. Like it's so much better than Apple Intelligence. They got some, and they've even admitted that already. There's been highlights or quotes about how they completely fumbled that. Okay, quick check-in on the markets here. We're 10 minutes here. And by the way, after this, tech tune-up with Paul Meek. So if you're interested in any of the AI trade, the tech trade, any of that, Paul's been doing this for a long time. He is absolutely an authority. He's coming up here next. You don't have to do anything. I'm automatically going to send you over there.
CFR's been shorting Apple. Let me see. I haven't even looked and see where it's at right now. So it's over 200 again. Okay.
I just got a text message from an automated number that says, Ryan, get back on Facebook. Blocked.
Yeah. No.
Blocked, actually.
Okay.
Welcome to the block party, bro.
Reported
as spam, too, just to salt it up.
Apple, resistance levels I see, 207 and the 20-day SMA. That would be it for me. We did get some nice support from the 500 over the past couple of days. But if we lose that, then it'd be 196 I'd be looking at. We're at a very interesting level with, whether or not it's going to hold 200. But
Has anyone been trading dogwood today? DWTX. I know sometimes we call this dog water, but dogwood therapeutics here. This thing has been halted 7 times, 8 times here today. No, it's open now. 7 times here today. It looks like a wild move here. DWTX didn't even really get close to trading this.
I can look it up, I guess. But James, do you have like their current titles? Like, are these all executives, or are they some of these board guys?
Palantir more on that break that corresponds with the volume candle. That was clean. That was good. Bank of America holding higher after that quality earnings report here this morning. NVIDIA back to the highs. Nice call on that, Chris. NVIDIA going to make a move. Here we go. NVIDIA, it's going. Confidence is high. It went right to the highs. Chris, that was a great live call. I'm sorry I didn't have the chart up. Good stuff. Hello, Voodoo.
113, still a resistance area for me. Had that marked off here for a while.
Didn't quite get there on the impulse move earlier, too. Looks like we're trying to return to that level. OST has volume here. Good call, Tuna. Okay, it looks like we've got a very clear trend line here on OST that we just tested.
Holding VWAP. After a break, 11:05, we had a break over VWAP. It's held up ever since. This could actually get back up into the 2 handle.
This is moving through that trend line I just drew, too.
Nice. Oh, okay, there you go. Perfect.
On volume.
213 is the high of day. So we'll just let that do its thing. All these other movers from this morning not looking great.
No, this does seem to be like the area where things just kind of settling down.
Oh, yeah. No, this is the lunch hour that we're about to approach.
Yeah. And you know what else? So here, let's take a quick look. We got plenty of time here for this. Just kind of looking at SPY here. If I look back to yesterday, look, we're basically in the same area where we topped out yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
So
still consolidating. Could end up with an inside candle. It's I don't want to make any predictions about what's going to happen today, because as we've seen with this market, any headline could drive this market up or completely crater it. Let's just we're going sideways, and this is probably what we're going to end up seeing when we don't have headlines or really big market moving news. Is that we're just going to consolidate, go sideways, and see a low volume day, kind of similar to how we had yesterday.
Yeah, or choppy here, like Pro Trader saying here. It actually, yesterday kind of felt choppy. I know we stayed higher, but like at the end of the day, I can't get over it. It felt mundane. It felt like a boring plus 500 Dow day. And it does seem like today is just some more chop here. Eldner is asking, is the rug pull coming? This is a really good question. I don't know that it comes here today, but then again, like, how am I predicting rug pulls with any degree of accuracy in the backdrop of this crazy macro environment that we find ourselves in? One of the things that I'm saying here, or one of the things that I'm doing here, is I'm definitely prepared for some of those rug pulls, especially if I'm taking new trades. But I mean, I can't tell you with any certainty if it's coming and when. Take care of yourself, man. I better go do some actual work. And it seems like all you do is work.
STFU, great point. This may actually move up here. We do need to take out that big wall of sellers at $3. So we do need to see a big amount of volume with this move to break out. If that's what we're going to get here. Yeah, no, I see STFU. I got you. Watch for this expanding volume. That's going to tell us if we're going to get through that $3 wall or not.
Yeah, Murrah, I was seeing the same thing here. Murrah looks like it's trying again. Mm-hmm. I have no position here. At this point, I'm probably done with some of these movers. I am waiting out some of those directional ETFs. Yeah. But I would be so pissed if I gave money back on this. I would be so mad. So I might just kind of sit on my hand. David, listen to what David was saying this morning. Sometimes you just got to sit on your hands. That's the right move.
No, STFU. We're looking at Murrah, buddy. Don't worry. we got you. And if anybody wants to try and trade this, that's fine. I think we've got most of the really good moves today. Maybe there's some more later on after the lunch hour. But like Ryan said, I would not want to give anything back today. So for me, I think for now with Murrah, probably just leave it alone. That's just what I'm going to do. Go towards some of these ETFs for directional trading. I'll take a look at Murrah, see if there's something that sets up later. But the volume has not been very appealing lately. But like I said, this could definitely have that pop move and then come back in. Don't want to be a part of that right now. Anybody trade this how you want to trade it.
Yeah. Pete saying, going to close it down for the day. You guys have a great rest of your day. You too, Pete.
Excellent.
We'll be back
Take
at
care,
this
Pete.
again tomorrow. Remember, it's a truncated week. So now that you're done for the day, you're halfway done with the week. Pat yourself on the back for that. Pat yourself on the back for that. I guess I should continue to remind people that we're closed on Friday for Good Friday. This I think is one of those market holidays that kind of creeps up on people, especially if you're not terribly religious. It's markets are generally not closed on Friday, right? It's normally the Monday holiday that we get.
And yeah, hit goals and then over trade. That's kind of what we like to do around here. And here we go with this move trying to get over $3. It just went right up to it. But got to get more volume. Got to really take out that wall of sellers there. It's chewing at it.
Here we go at 3.
It's chewing at it, but it's still over 32,000 shares at that price right now that are trying to get sold. So that's what I'm saying. Like the volume really has to be better than what it's been for the past 10, 15 minutes.
Here's your test at 3.
Go.
They took a chunk. They took a big chunk there. Couldn't get it.
Yep. And then they're starting to place some more selling. There we go. We just took that out. More selling up at the.
And there we go. And now we're through 310. Your next spot here. Let's see.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what kind of size is up there at 310. Do you have a read on that yet?
20,000, almost 21,000.
Okay.
So not about half the size that the $3 one was at. But
Okay,
here we
so
go
this
with the
should
volume
go, yeah.
Here we go with the volume starting to expand now. That's what we wanted to see. Not making any guesses or estimations on where this goes, but we were talking about the consolidation that the stock has had since I think it was early 2024. Those are going to provide different kinds of price levels where the resistance is going to be. Here we are starting to pull a little bit now after that move over 3. We come back underneath 3 again. So like I said, I think I'm okay without trading this for now. If it rips and it goes higher and breaks over 310, fine. Congratulations to whoever gets it. But I think my plan for this is over for now.
Yeah. Okay. That seems pretty good. Kev, take care of yourself, man. Have a great rest of your day. Really good stuff. Okay, Murrah here. This did sag beneath 3. I really quickly wanted to check in on the S&P 500 here. This looks like this might get, Charles, you were mentioning here, I've got 170 TQQQ puts. You might, if this market really kind of falls here, you might be in good shape. We'll see if we end up getting that. Okay, 13, we got less than a minute left. I'm sending you over to Paul Meeks next here. 13, any closing words for the group?
Hey, you guys did a fantastic day trading this Murrah and a bunch of these other movers, and we made some really good gains, and we learned a lot. You know what? Let's come back here and do it tomorrow. What do you say? I'm sure there'll be plenty of movers for us to take picks at. So let's do that. Enjoy Paul Meeks. I'll see you folks tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
You're on. It's a deal. Folks, really good stuff here today. Have a great rest of your day. Stay green, stay safe, stay